Betting reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
Thursday, I'm Patrick Meagher, live from Los Angeles, the big guy, Los Angeles as well. Isaiah's New York City, Ryan, Vegas. We've got you covered. Of course, Ryan, part of the team now because we are streaming live on YouTube. Go give us a thumbs up, a follow. We appreciate it. Let's get the algo. We're at VSiN Live on YouTube. As we say, you know what? I want to do this really quickly, then we'll get into the show. This is crazy. So you like the NBA? Do you? So check out the injury report for the Sixers and Celtics coming up. No, seriously, check this out. Paul George has been added to the 76ers injury report with left groin soreness. Aww. Joel Embiid is out. Tyrese Maxey is out. Paul George is out. Kyle Lowry is out. Jared McCain is out. Eric Gordon's out. All right, Sixers, not a full squad. Let's talk about the Celtics, shall we? Jaylen Brown is out. Drew Holiday is out. Al Horford's out. Kristaps Porzingis is out. Jason Tatum is most likely not going to play. Sam Hauser, most likely not going to play. That is, you know what? Fire the commissioner. Like there's nothing else to say at this point. You got to move on. You got to come up with a different philosophy as far as the league's concerned. It is March 6th, and people are literally just chilling. I know the 76ers. We understand what's happening with them. Boston fighting for a 1 seed with Cleveland, but they're not going to get there. So they've just decided to coast against teams like the 76ers as well. It's legitimately embarrassing. And we will get to, after we kind of let you know what's going on today, we'll get to the A topic, which is going to be Knicks Lakers here in Los Angeles coming up later tonight. Honestly, there's so much intrigue with this game. I'm excited to talk about it. We'll bring in the big guy as we get the program started. A lot to do. Let's get some of the business stuff out of the way. Edge rushers, the edge rushers right now in the NFL, if you take a look, it's pretty crazy. You've got now Trey Hendrickson just requested a trade. Myles Garrett has requested a trade. Those are two of the best around. And then you got Joey Bosa get released. You've got Josh Sweat, who was awesome in the Super Bowl. You've got Hassan Reddick. You've got so many edge rushers come Monday that are going to be on the move in the NFL. And we were talking about the wide receivers yesterday because DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Christian Kirk and others. This is going to be an interesting free agency period in the NFL.
Yeah, and Joey Bosa about to get paid again, right? Already got a big deal from the Chargers, hitting the market once again. And I mean, it's a premium position. It's the one that they say you have to have on the defensive end of things. Everything offensively begins quarterback, left tackle, and on defense, you better have an elite pass rusher and an elite corner if you want to build that defense up. So, I mean, Max Crosby's now your highest paid edge rusher. I don't want to, disparage Max Crosby because I think he's a really, really good player. But is he even a top 5 edge rusher in the league? Top 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, I think you're underestimating how many elite edge rushers there are.
I think you're underestimating. If you watch, I know you have, Max Crosby is a game wrecker by himself. He's constantly doubled. I watched him in person one time, and I was like, I couldn't believe how fast he was. But if you want to have the conversation, we can eventually have the conversation. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I'm just curious, where do we put him? And I think he deserves the deal. I think the Raiders needed to lock him up because this rebuild that Pete Carroll wants to do, he wants to do it quickly. If they lose Max Crosby, we're talking, this is an 8-year rebuild, and hiring Pete Carroll was absolutely pointless. So he had a bit of leverage there. But you just look, there's so many elite pass, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, so many elite guys out there. Hendrickson, who you just mentioned, top of the board when it comes to leading the league in sacks year after year, right there among the top guys. Nick Bosa, it is an embarrassment of riches right now in the NFL with edge rushers.
I love you, man. Seriously, I don't love the fact that you're making me go to dinner, but other than that, just I do love you. Hey, quickly wanted to mention something. This is really cool. Bill A.D., who is one of the owners of VSiN. He's offering something pretty damn cool. So if you've been reticent to get involved with VSiN and become a VSiN subscriber, from now until Selection Sunday, we're offering free access to everything we do at VSiN.com. That includes the betting splits, the picks page. So if you just want to scoop in until Selection Sunday and pick up the free plays, feel free. Power ratings, unlimited stories, plus the VSiN Watch app. You can throw it on your smart TV, see if you enjoy the VSiN Watch app. The goal is to push. So, again, let's go ahead and get over there, VSiN.com. From now until Selection Sunday, we're offering everything we do for free. I'm not even going to try to sell you on subscribing anymore because you can get it for free. And then after Selection Sunday, we'll hook you up with a deal. But I think you're going to enjoy this. So go check it out, VSiN.com. Okay. All right, big guy. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. There's a couple of things I want to do before we get started with the Knicks and Lakers, because I do believe it's genuinely a big story. Can I bitch just quickly about, and it has nothing to do with losing a bet. Those of you listening to Mad Dog Sports Radio have known me since, for 11 years. You know, I complain openly about losing bets. When I didn't have any money, then when I have a little bit, I still complain the same. It's not going to change. But last night I did lose a bet on my Pistons, but that's not the issue. The issue is James Harden had 50 points. James Harden went to the free throw line 20 times. And Cade Cunningham, who was just as involved, 37 points, he had 6 free throw attempts. This league is driving me effing crazy. And watching that game last night was like giving me a heart attack because the Pistons have been playing very well. The Clippers were shorthanded. The Pistons were a big favorite there, and that pissed me off. I don't know if you got involved with that one at all, but that one pissed me off.
How old are you now? I forgot what you turned 46?
Yeah, I'm 47. 40. Shut up.
No, yeah. But I think you're officially the age where you just start hating everything about the NBA. I think at some point the clock turned and you hate Adam.
No, but
Silver.
I'm into it. No, but I'm kind of the Laker thing is completely rejuvenating me. Like I'm re-energized. I'm totally re-energized.
You know me.
I swear to God.
I'm with you. You're way into the Luka thing. I'm just messing with you. My thing is, you know how I get. I want people to enjoy it. I don't want people to complain. I've just kind of run out of ways to defend the NBA right now.
Well, you want to defend what's happening in Boston tonight with Philadelphia and
no, you can't.
Celtics?
There are no more defenses.
Paul George just came up with a bad groin all of a sudden today.
No, the league's at a crossroads. And on your Harden thing, do we even care about what James Harden accomplishes anymore? It is the most meaningless stat padding. It's irrelevant. There will be no championships in his future. There's obviously no titles in his past. Just I stopped caring about what James Harden does and if it's impressive or not, like 3 teams ago for him.
By the way, if you are a prop player, jump on Peyton Pritchard. He might drop 60 tonight because he had 43 last night. So
ready?
Enjoy.
You want to hear a bitter person about betting? I had over 15.5 points on Pritchard last night. Imagine I laddered that thing a little bit. Imagine I really believed in the play, and I went like over 20.
Where it's the beginning of the show, 90% of the audience knows nothing about gambling, and you threw out ladder like you're some sort of sharp. Chill out. Nobody. What is a ladder bet, Dawson? Why don't you tell them?
Okay, so I bet him over 15.5. It's a basic bet. It's a basic bet. Had I done alternate numbers on his total, as they went up, the odds would pay greater in my favor. So let's say if I wanted to bet 20.5 and he would have scored 21, that would have paid probably 3-1 and so on and so on. I could have had a nice little night. Instead, I played it safe. I won the one single bet. Whoop-de-freaking do.
Peyton, and he's going to win the 6th man of the year? Peyton
For
Pritchard?
sure. He was minus 150 last I looked.
Well, he dropped 43 last night. He hit 10 threes. Derek White had 41 and had 9 threes. So
I saw, there's an interesting note on that. So there was historical. Celtics have played 65% of their games with 2 Hall of Famers. And last night was the first time they had 2 40-point scorers. It's also the first time where there was an NBA game that featured teammates both hitting 9 threes. Even the Splash Brothers never did that.
It was kind of crazy last night. Just quickly on college basketball, Steve Torrey's Alabama team went down last night at home to Florida. Maryland, a huge win at Michigan. Very impressive. Kind of dominated that game as well at Michigan. Michigan's in a weird spot. They head to Lansing, East Lansing, on Sunday to close out the regular season. And speaking of East Lansing, the only top 25 team in action tonight is Michigan State kind of in a sleepy spot at 15-14 Iowa. So that is the college basketball. Now, let's turn our attention to what I think is the story of the night, and that's Knicks Lakers. All of a sudden, there's some juice here. The Lakers have been awesome. They've won 7 straight. You know, the last time they lost was against Charlotte, which is wild because Charlotte's one of the all-time bad teams. But the reason they lost is because Luka didn't play. If Luka plays basketball, I know this sounds crazy, Dallas, but if Luka plays basketball, those teams tend to win. And right now, the Lakers are 2.5. That leads me to believe, because that number's come down from 3.5, that leads me to believe Luka, it's a huge question mark tonight. He was listed as probable, but now that number going back the other way towards Knicks, Dustin, tells me we may not see Luka tonight, which would completely rip any drama away from this game.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any injury stuff. Could it be the number just got too big on the Knicks and there was some buyback at 3.5 round 4? No. This is one of those where it's like, I know we're supposed to bet the Lakers. Like, I know what I'm supposed to do here. I'm supposed to lay the price at home with the team playing better basketball right now. And it's one of those deals where I'm in my head going, that feels too obvious. You're going to get duped and regret this, but it does feel like the Lakers are the most obvious play.
A uniform move back to the Knicks when the Lakers have won 7 straight at home, where the vibes are ridiculous. The last time we saw the Knicks, they were at home and got beat by the Warriors. Why would that number be moving a full point the other way? This sends off the alarm for me that we may not see Luka. That's all. And if Luka's playing, I don't care about the steam. I'm on the Lakers. It's impossible to explain, and that's why I think this is a story. It's crazy to explain how much Laker basketball means right now. I was on with Adam Shine on VSiN earlier on Make It Rain, and I said, it hasn't felt like this since Kobe. And you think to yourself, well, that doesn't make any sense, because in the interim, you've had LeBron James. LeBron James just isn't a Laker. As much as, again, he won the COVID championship, I understand, but it's not the same thing. Kobe was a native son. He was a child when he got here, and he played his whole entire career here. Luka, under the circumstances, 25 years old, much younger than when LeBron got here. And also, he was unceremoniously let go, so he's a sympathetic figure. And as soon as he got here, he embraced the city. He hadn't won championships like LeBron did in Cleveland and Miami. I do a double take there. He wasn't the sloppy thirds.
Yeah.
Luka is a Laker immediately. Now, is he Kobe? No. I'm just trying to set the scene for there are legit, and it's a great fan base. The Dodger and Laker fan base is, you don't listen to Dog. Don't listen to anybody that's going to tell you any differently that has a West Coast bias. The Dodger and Laker fan bases are as good as any in the nation. You can't argue it. You think Los Angeles, you think Beverly Hills. That is not the Lakers, and that is not the Dodgers. They have there's millions of people here. It's the second most populous city in the country. Most of these people here aren't the donks you see on Bravo.
They're regular people. There's still normal people working normal jobs in Los Angeles. By the way, just to give you the betting splits over at VSiN.com for this game, DraftKings National Sportsbook, the money is on the Knicks. 48% of the money on just 20% of the bets. I go over to Circa, which is where the sharp bettors bet, 70% of the money on just 19% of the bets. Everyone is backing the Knicks here. I do have 3 plays on the game that we can get to later, but the Knicks, I have a lot of concerns about, Patrick. You go back to February, 15th in offensive rating since then, 26th in defensive rating, 21st in net. They're shooting the 3 worse now than they were earlier in the year. 33.8% beyond the arc since the All-Star break versus 37% on the year. The Knicks are not right, and a lot of it starts with Mikal Bridges getting going. They are desperate for that guy to show up offensively, because you figure in a matchup like this, OG Anunoby's going to be busy with Luka and LeBron.
Yeah, if I get any information on Luka, I'll pass it along.
I don't see anything.
I think your frustration, I got to ask ChatGPT. I got to ask AI. That's all that matters, and I'm not talking about the answer, Alan. I'm talking about freaking Gemini. All right. I think it's valid, your concerns about the Knicks. Again, this is why the Myles Garrett thing, and talking melding of free agency in the NBA, this is why the Myles Garrett thing doesn't do what you would think it would do for me as far as the Lions. Hear me out. Myles Garrett's one of the greats of all time, and he's still in his prime. The Lions seemingly are one of the teams in the mix. If you were to bookend Myles Garrett opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, on paper, it's one of the greats of all time. Full stop. It's just adding pieces and thinking it's just going to be the next, the ultimate solution never freaking works. Now, if you're building something that is organic and genuine, like what the Lions are building, that defense was plenty good and they didn't have Hutchinson last year. That is not the issue. The issue was your boy Jared Goff couldn't stop throwing pickles. Now, my point about the Knicks. The Knicks gave us one of the great runs in postseason, not history, but recent history, because of the injuries last year. There was an insane vibe. The Garden was going crazy. So then they said, well, let's just add on to it by trading away 1 million picks for Bridges and losing out on Hartenstein, part of the heart and soul of the team. And all of a sudden, there is nothing that resembles what we saw in the postseason vibes-wise from the Knicks right now. It's just an inverse. And that is my answer about the Knicks and Lions.
Yeah, and for the Knicks, maybe it was one move too many. Maybe it's you make the Cat move, you don't make the Bridges move. And by the way, we're going to look back on the Bridges move, and it's going to look like the Knicks got fleeced. 5 first-rounders for a very average wing right now who's not getting it done when he has his opportunities. It's going to look like a bad deal. So I agree with you there. The Knicks had energy. They were feisty because they kind of had to be. Whereas now this version of the Knicks is a little more talented, and because of that, maybe you're not getting quite the same fight. I should point out, not getting the same fight from guys not named Brunson and Josh Hart, because those dudes are just built different. But everyone else is kind of new. Anunoby was a new piece in and out of the lineup last year with injuries. It's just a lot that they had to work in at once, and the Cat trade did happen really late in the offseason, so I'm not sure they were properly planned the way they should be. Look, the Lakers are now the second best team in the West. And the Knicks are 0-7 against Boston, Oklahoma City, and Cleveland. Not to put too much on this game, but if the Knicks can't win this game or at least cover, there is now a 0% chance of them doing anything in the playoffs.
Well, the Karl Anthony Towns is having an amazing year. Bridges is a fine piece, but you're taking away from the unique build, the secret sauce, which is now you're asking Jalen Brunson, who was the star last year, is capable of carrying a team. Now you're asking him to delegate. Now you're asking him to break up the piece of the pie. And if he's a human being, he does a podcast with Josh Hart. He's a person that wants his teammates to be happy, and wanting and acquiescing doesn't help this Knicks team. Period.
And now, you're right. Now he has to think about working everyone else in, when really it was him carrying them along the way every step of the playoffs. And it reminds me of one of our recent great philosophers that you and I have discussed here on the program a lot. I'll paraphrase what he said to transition it. But less thinking equals talent takeover. Nick Sirianni. Jalen Brunson now has to think about getting everyone their looks, getting everyone their shots, when the reality is Jalen Brunson is the guy who's going to lead you to the promised land, and let's focus on that instead of having to work everyone in. Let everyone else fit in where they fit in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can go Sartre, you can go Schopenhauer, you could go any philosopher you want, or you can go Sirianni. Less thinking, talent takeover. And that's 100% right. And again, once you do something, like you change the makeup of a team, Hartenstein, who is so important,
that's
and now here comes Karl Anthony Towns. Once you do that, and this is a warning for Lions fans that think Myles Garrett is just the answer, you're changing the whole. Myles Garrett is a big personality outside of being one of the great edge rushers we've ever seen. You are immediately changing the makeup of the team. Wait, hold on now. I thought the makeup was Dan Campbell, not with Myles Garrett. And you're also impacting the cap, which is how you've built this team by drafting wisely and adding pieces that people didn't want to have a unit that actually makes sense playing together. Myles Garrett's just throwing. It's like you remember years ago when the San Diego Padres, they just started buying big-ticket free agents. And they're like, hey, here's a left fielder. Here's a closer. Here's a big-time starter. It finished like last. It just doesn't work.
Who did your Pistons, the hard hat Pistons, beat in the finals? A Lakers team that added Gary Payton and Karl Malone.
Correct.
So just because you're adding talent, just because you're adding these elite players, doesn't mean it all works, especially in basketball. Basketball is so unique in that sense. We're also, I mean, this is kind of a Luka thing. You just need one guy who can carry you, one guy who can go in a heater. Luka's that guy he was the guy for Dallas. He is that for the Lakers. And on the other side, Brunson is that guy for the Knicks. As much as I love Karl Anthony Towns, you're not relying on him in the playoffs like you're relying on Brunson.
Yep, I would agree with that. Brunson, everything should have been built around letting Brunson cook.
Yeah. More depth, more shooters. Let him dribble, drive, and kick. Let him figure out what he wants to do when he gets guys on his hip. Let him just keep defenses on their heels. Instead, you got him help, but you also limit what he can do now because he has too much help.
Again, where we started. Sixers, Celtics. Embiid's out. Maxey's out. George is out. Lowry's out. Gordon's out. Jaylen Brown's out. Drew Holiday's out. Al Horford's out. Porzingis is out. And most likely Tatum's out. No. Don't call. Yes, I'm old. I'm not saying anybody get off my lawn. I'm saying get back on my lawn and then into the driveway and let's play basketball. And if you're not going to play basketball and you're making up fake-ass injuries, do something different with the sport. Do something different with the effing sport. It's stupid.
The fact that your tune has changed the way it has on the NBA, that is the greatest sign for Adam Silver that something's wrong. We used to get into this league. We used to be all about the NBA on the show every night. We were always monitoring things, and games were fun. Think about TNT tonight. I believe the two TNT games are Sixers, Celtics, and Knicks, Lakers. Well, who is watching the early game that's going to stick around for the late game? Nobody is watching Gab Yabusele and Justin Edwards for Philadelphia.
Well, the Sixers are going to throw out. The Sixers going to throw out Quentin Grimes, Lonnie Walker, Kelly Oubre, Yabusele, Andre Drummond, who I didn't even know was in the league.
Hold on. Lonnie Walker, he was playing in Serbia 2 weeks ago. Hold on.
So stupid. 888-623-3646. Anyway, Tony in Dallas joins us here, VSiN Live. Hey, Tony.
By the way, guys, a really good show last night. Sorry I couldn't call in, but good show last night. I always love your spots with the gambling experts, and I love the spot with Hayden, by the way. That was hilarious. That last when you said, "I hope you weren't wearing sweatpants." I mean, I laughed out loud. That was hilarious. But anyway, on the NBA, you're right. And interesting, I was reading an article that the NBA ratings since January have gone up double digits. And it is because of player movement. Obviously, the Luka trade going to LA has put the Lakers back on schedule. Butler going on to Golden State. That's what we want. We always say that we don't. It's like March Madness. We want the upset in the first two rounds, but we don't want George Mason in the final. So we want the big-time franchises to be relevant, but you're absolutely right. The Celtics aren't injured. They just know that they're playing the Lakers on Saturday, and they're resting their guys because it is the second of back-to-back. So I don't know. As a fan, I'm not getting a discount, so it's like I don't know what is it that the league is not going to cut back on games. So what is the solution? We always bitch about this with baseball. You don't need the Sunday night game. The Yankees play on Sunday night against the Red Sox. You don't need them playing on Monday against Cincinnati. So it's like, what do we do? Because they're not taking away games. So what is a viable solution? Because if not, this is going to continue. And the ones that suffer are the fans. And nobody else except us.
It's got to be pure. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. You nailed it. First off, Cleveland yesterday with their win, which was 12 straight. Cleveland is the second team in NBA history to have 3 12-game win streaks in a season. This is a legitimate title contender. Putting that to the side, they just made the postseason. They're 8 games up for the 1 seed in the East. Boston is systematically resting players the rest of the way. They are, 3-4.5 up on the Knicks. The Knicks aren't playing well. Boston knows the Knicks ain't going to catch them for that 2 seed. Boston is going to – so now we have a league where Boston is just going to, like, with the whiteboard, try to, like, figure out how to rest their players. Yeah. There isn't even a semblance of this type of strategy in any other sport. Not even close.
And you know what? It's gonna look even worse for the league if the Celtics blow right past the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals. If the Celtics just do their thing without home court advantage and they end up in the finals winning the East again, it'll be a bad look because the rest of the league will say, look, Boston, there was nothing against them for resting their players systematically. It didn't matter they weren't the 1 seed. Cleveland trying extra hard all season long to make sure they had home court. It was completely irrelevant when it mattered the most. And that's the unfortunate part, is I think Boston's going to cruise to another championship, and they're going to be rewarded for actions like tonight.
888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. So we start with the NBA because hopefully Luke is playing. Let me just take another look at the number. Yeah, I mean, everybody went to 2.5. Honestly, I do believe it was 3.5 earlier. So I feels like Luka news, but who knows? Knicks at Lakers. Obviously, if Luka's not playing, we'll love the Knicks at this number. But AI couldn't even tell me. And when AI can't tell me, it's covert, to say the least. So that is it. Again, don't want to be – it's kind of annoying to just come on and bitch about the league, but – right before the program started, I saw that injury report for Celtics and 76ers, and I'm like, this is goddamn blasphemous.
Yeah, but this is no different. It's, by the way, they've been doing this to a degree, not quite as insane as tonight is, but all these teams have been doing this since the season started. Like, load management started like 3 weeks into the year. So the back-to-backs have got to go, and the only other solution is, if you want to be ruled out, you have to go to an independent doctor to rule you out, and the NBA has to approve it. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
Load management started a few weeks into the year. I'm pretty sure Joel Embiid sat out game 1.
I mean, he's been load managing his entire career.
888-623-3646. Now, this is a good call to take. Patrick is wrong about everything. Feed it to my soul. What up, Matt?
Is it me?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Hey, so yeah, I listened to you a few years ago when you were on Mad Dog, and I always liked it. I'm from Detroit, huge Pistons, Lions fan, Tigers fan, all that.
Let's go.
I just want to mention, you can say that this is sort of a parallel you guys are doing between the NBA and you mentioned Myles Garrett and the Detroit Lions. Here's what I would say. There was a time that I didn't know if Rasheed Wallace would work, but he did. And it took them over the top, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I don't know if I'm not saying they wouldn't have won without him. But
no, Rasheed was a difference maker. You're right. 100%.
And then I think of Dan Campbell, and I think his personality and he's got a stronghold on that franchise organization that I don't care who comes in there. That's how I think, but I could be wrong on that as well.
No, but the only thing, Matt, is the only thing that I was thinking is, like, I appreciate the call. The only thing as far as Myles Garrett is I like what Brad Holmes does. And I don't want to take that allotment of the cap away from somebody as creative as Brad Holmes. That would be my point. And I just don't want anybody to if you might be right about Campbell. I don't even want somebody coming in that could potentially overshadow Campbell. And by the way, we got to the NFC Championship game. Now I'm going on a Lions rant. Yeah. We got to the NFC Championship game without Aiden Hutchinson. I think that's plenty of a pass rush. That's all.
But it's also a lot of money tied up in one guy when the rest of the roster is really good. You just have a few very minor holes to plug. And keep in mind, you got a quarterback making $50 million. That holds the rest of the roster back. So putting more money into another defensive end when there's more glaring issues on the defensive side of the football just feels like you can allocate that money a little bit better and more creatively.
If you have an answer for the NBA, the Celtics 76ers forced us into this conversation. And if you want to chat about NFL free agency, which opens up on Monday at noon East Coast time, let's do it. We're just getting started on a Thursday. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson. Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, the big guy, Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Maher. Ryan and, of course, Isaiah is helping out tonight. We are streaming live on YouTube, VSiN Live. Stop over, say hi. See people getting busy in the chat. You can, too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. Let's get that algo going. And here's another one. From now until Selection Sunday over at VSiN.com, everything's free. That means the betting splits. You want to find out where the money's going. The picks page, you get all the picks. There's, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, 80 picks a day. Power ratings, unlimited stories, the guides. The VSiN Watch app is also over at VSiN.com, free until Selection Sunday. So we've never done that before. I would imagine they've lost their minds, so go take advantage of them.
I mean, look, it's like getting a chance to play in an amusement park without an entry fee right now. That's the key. Is like there's so much on the website, articles. You want to bet on these small conference tournaments? We have an entire team that's just writing about all of these games every single day.
Yeah, I'm in that amusement. You know what? You're right. It's like skee ball, absolutely free, big guy. Right?
That's an arcade. That's not an amusement park. Amusement park has rides. It's not.
Here's a better way of explaining. So. And we're talking the NBA. The Lakers host the Knicks tonight, and I gave you the rundown of the injury report for the Celtics and 76ers, and the injury report is legitimately everybody on the team. So that's an issue. And years ago, when the concept of gambling was starting to be circulated as an option, and remember, Chris Christie started that in Jersey, and now essentially more than half the states across the nation are legalized as far as betting. It's odd that I'm in Los Angeles where it's not. A lot of it has to do with Native American tribes holding on to the gambling rights and all this kind of stuff. I won't get into that. The point is, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, this is 10 plus years ago, was the commissioner that was out in front saying, let's bet, right? He was the one saying, in the future, I want you, if you're going to an NBA game, I want you to be able to sit there. I want you to be able to bet on individual plays. I want you to be able to bet in-game. I want interaction. It's essentially like, our family bets Discord. He wants that type of vibe at an NBA game because he knows that society has moved into a much different direction where you're sitting there, you're on your phone, you're interacting, and betting is what adults do now, and he wanted you to be able to bet on his league. Here's the irony. Our boss, Steve Cohen, sends out the Circa handle. All right, Circa Sports, it's the #1 book now in Vegas, and it's considered a sharp book. A sharp book is, where they allow very good bettors, quote-unquote sharp bettors, to bet limits. All right? They don't limit the bettors. They take the money. With that, you get a good gauge of what people are betting in a real sense. So I'm looking at it right now. The NBA is dwarfed by college basketball as far as percentage. Almost 2.5 to 1. College basketball is bet so much more than the NBA. And I set it up with Adam Silver is the one that was like, please come bet on my sport. And people won't even bet on his sport. That's the problem. Don't forget, if you're tuning in, you're like, oh, this guy talks betting too much. Forget about betting. It's a corollary to people don't want to pay attention to the sport because they're frustrated with it. Trust me, bettors are looking for opportunities to take advantage of inefficiencies. They can't because of player resting, player empowerment, people sitting out, Celtics 76ers tonight. That's the story.
The league's unreliable. That's what it tells you. The league is unreliable. You cannot, and if you want to take betting out of it, how about buying tickets for a game? Why would you ever, if you have kids, buy tickets for a game 2 months out, hoping that, hey, the Lakers and Luka are coming to town. Let me buy tickets and see what happens, and I'll take the kids. They'll have the experience to see a generational player in person, and you could be on your way to the game. That's how quick this happens. You could be thinking everything's fine, paid a ton of money for these seats, and on the way to the game, he could be ruled out simply because they don't want to hurt him before the postseason begins. That could happen to any star player on any team in any game, any night. It's an unreliable league.
Hey, you know who I should give credit to? Because we're talking about these players tanking, teams tanking, and the players resting. How about the Utah Jazz last night? They were 4.5-point dogs to maybe the worst team of all time, the Washington Wizards. Why? Because Danny Ainge has decided, I don't want this team to try. In a competition, it's pretty counterintuitive when you're literally not trying. I digress. Let's give credit to one player in particular, and I never give him credit because he's passive-aggressive and he lies all the time. But LeBron James has played in 56 games this year. LeBron James, if you are paying, as Dustin said, you're taking your kids to a Lakers game, more times than not this year, LeBron James has been in the starting lineup, and you have to give him credit.
You know what? And the whole league looks up to him, right? These guys don't say anything bad about LeBron. They know what he did for them in the transition and everything and keeping the popularity of the NBA. You'd think more of them would follow his lead. You'd think more of them would do that. But I don't know, maybe it's just LeBron's the guy who invested more than everyone else into his body, staying healthy, and the rest of them are making excuses and using the load management to benefit them. I don't really understand. But that is right. LeBron, reliable. Understands what's at hand, and at 39 years old, he's available every night. By the way, tonight, bet him 6-1 to have a triple-double. 6-1 triple-double against the Knicks.
LeBron available. I got to give him credit. Cade Cunningham, he's a superstar that's playing in every game. I got to give him credit. The Pistons do it the right way. Obviously, they're still trying for positioning as far as the postseason, so they have to. Yeah, they have to, and they try their ass off every night. Those are the teams I care about. 888-623-3646. Let's say hi in Virginia to Carlisle here on VSiN Live. Hi, Carlisle.
I used to listen to you all the time when you were on Mad Dog. You always did a good job. I'm glad you're back, buddy.
I know your voice. It's great to hear from you, Carlisle.
So I want to defend, in particular, Tatum. First of all, he did play tonight. This is about his 53rd to 54th game. And the Celtics, listen, with Horford, they haven't paid him back in a couple of years now with his age. And I know people, he could play, but they've managed him for a couple of years. Porzingis is very fragile, and we understand that they're going to be careful with him trying to get into the playoffs. But I think Holiday's is legit. He's older. He's been to, the Olympics and stuff. And like I said, Tatum, if I'm not mistaken, somebody did a breakdown the other night. This is about his 54th, so he doesn't miss him unless he has to, because he could have easily sat this game out and waited for the Lakers. But he's out there tonight. So
no, props to Tatum. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Now, help me understand how we would fix the 76er issue then. A team that obviously wants to take Paul George all of a sudden, his groin's hurting him. That's an issue.
Yep. I think the independent doctor thing is maybe the best idea we could come up with, because it is a lot of nonsense. I get upset just like you guys say, and I'm not paying to go to games, but when I sit here and I hear a matchup, and I'm worried about Saturday, who knows what team will pull, what stunt and decide. I'm hoping both of them play everybody, because I want to see Luka, LeBron. I'm a big-time Celtic fan. I want Porzingis out there, Holiday, all of them. But, chances are in all of these games, so I'm not saying it's not correct, man. It's hard to get excited about a regular season matchup, because all of a sudden you go to watch it and it doesn't happen. So maybe the independent doctor. Other than that, you just hope these players would have more pride. And quickly on the Myles Garrett thing, I totally agree with you, which is why I hope Philly does it. I'm a Redskin Commander fan since Joe Gibbs, Mark Rippon, Joe Theismann. So I've seen the good and bad. I was so excited last year about Jaden Daniels and what he did. And it feels so good to think that we may be back. But I hope Philly goes and does Myles Garrett. They just gave Saquon all this big money. Start messing up your equilibrium and your cap so that all this dynasty talk can be screwed up. I totally agree with you. I think that some of these teams, if they do that, they're going to regret the day, just because it throws off the karma, for lack of a better term, the sports karma that you may already have building on a particular team. So I say, a team like the Commanders, they need defensive help. I would accept it a little bit more, but like this talk that Philly and Detroit, I'm like, go ahead. You've already spent a bunch of money on Saquon. Go ahead and blow your cap up.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I appreciate it. Good to hear from you. I could end up being wrong on the Myles Garrett goes to the Lions, 15 sacks in a Super Bowl. I'll say I'm wrong. All I'm doing is exactly what Carlisle said. I'm going with my gut. Does it feel like a player that's necessary to win a Super Bowl and ultimately impact the decisions made down the road? I'm saying no. That I'm going with my gut. That's all.
Yeah, it's a trickle down. You're also a vibe guy, and you don't want to interrupt the vibes.
I don't. And I'm not saying Myles Garrett's a bad guy. Just saying I don't think it's necessary. I think you could allocate the assets a little bit more efficiently. That's all.
Yeah, get some corners, please.
David, Los Angeles, VSiN Live. Hey, David.
Hey, good afternoon, Patrick and Dustin. Thanks a lot for taking my call. You guys have been talking about the NBA and how, yes, recently there has been a nice little ratings bump thanks to some player movements, but we know overall the league continues to be in trouble in terms of audience retention. I want to talk about a threat to the NBA outside of the NBA, and that is, of course, the biggest juggernaut league in the country right now, and that's the NFL. Look, the days of the NFL being respectful enough to not encroach upon the territory of other leagues, those days are over. It used to be that the NFL would not schedule games against Major League Baseball during the World Series. They said, screw that. We're coming after your territory. And then in these last couple of years, the NFL decided we're coming after the NBA's biggest regular season day, Christmas Day, because we know we can, and there's nothing you can do about it. For God's sake, this past year, the NFL scheduled games on a Wednesday because Christmas was on a Wednesday. They didn't care. They were coming for the NBA's throat. And sooner or later, the NFL's going to expand to 18 games. And when they do that, that's going to put the Super Bowl in direct conflict with NBA All-Star Weekend, which is already in enough trouble. The NBA has got to figure out a way to get the audience back on track here because the NFL is coming for them. They've already started coming for them, and they're not going to stop.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Good call. The Thursday nights, and again, I don't know if to chalk this up as I'm just not an NBA guy like I was when I was a kid, but the NBA on TNT on Thursday night was appointment viewing. I might check to see if I'm going to actually see the stars and then watch a game, but that's how I approach it now. That's an issue. 888-623-3646, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
All right, guys, 4 minutes.
covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, the road to the women's Final Four in Tampa Bay begins this week with the conference tournaments. For a full schedule of game times and channel numbers, visit SiriusXM. I got the crossover going. Go to SiriusXM.com/sports or search women's college basketball on the SiriusXM app. Okay, we welcome you back, Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Maher, of course. We are now streaming live on YouTube. We welcome all of you streaming with us. Make sure, and again, Isaiah's in the chat. We got the chat going as far as YouTube's considered. Just give us a little thumbs up there. Get in the algo. We appreciate that. We'll build it one brick at a time. Okay, so we've got Josh Applebaum joining us at the top of the hour. Author, better. He's great. Jonathan Von Tobel, Tony Pauline. We'll do a little on the draft. Tony Pauline's one of the better analysts when it comes to the NFL draft, so we'll get into that. Let's transition here to the NFL. A couple of things. The Joey Bosa release is interesting. The problem with Joey Bosa, talking about resting players, he doesn't get rested. He just doesn't play because he's constantly injured when he's playing, like his brother. Now, his brother's better, but Joey, when he was playing consistently, it was tremendous. So he could help you if he could stay healthy. That's the problem as far as staying healthy. The Browns restructured Deshaun Watson. It's not going to change their plans. They're going to try to get a quarterback. Obviously, Deshaun Watson's not the answer. They're drafting 2 overall, the Browns. But check this out. He's got 2 more years of guaranteed money. He's owed $46 million next year and $46 million the next year. So by my math, that's $92 million still owed to Deshaun Watson. It's a good gig if you can get it.
There will be a 30 for 30 just on the Watson story, and ending with the deal, the desperation move the Browns didn't have to do and try to change the way we pay quarterbacks by guaranteeing him all the money. You traded for him already. He was having all the issues off the field, and they paid extra on top of what his value was at the time. But on the Bosa thing, the thing that's so weird is, I get it. It's a salary cap move. He's going to make $25 million, or that saves the Chargers $25 million. He had a $12 million roster bonus due next week. But the irony is, you know what the Chargers could really use this offseason outside of a wide receiver? They could use more pass rushers. So it kind of stinks for them because they need Joey Bosa and they need another edge rusher because of the money. They're going to have to let him walk.
Edges are going to be aplenty. Wide receivers aplenty. Trey Hendrickson becoming available via requesting a trade. The Bengals saying, yeah, go for it. Hendrickson, maybe a sleepy name that you wouldn't think of, he's one of the best in the business. You were actually talking about, so let's do that. I don't know. Maybe I overvalue Max Crosby. I said it was blasphemous to think he wasn't a top 5 edge. I guess you would start with Garrett, and then you would go TJ Watt.
Nick
Bosa? I think Nick Bosa. I think my opinion is Max Crosby's better than Bosa.
Okay. Well, maybe not edge rusher. He's the highest paid non-quarterback. Is he top 10 of the non-quarterbacks in the league right now?
Is First off, when Max Crosby signed the 100-year, $3 million contract, 3-year, $100 million contract of guaranteed money or whatever the hell it was, that day he went out and said he wants Aaron Rodgers. I don't really quite conceptualize if you're handing him a ton of power. He's the one that got Antonio Pierce hired along with Devontae Adams. Now he's even emboldened and empowered more. And as soon as he got the deal, he said, I think Aaron Rodgers would be great on this team. That's the unquestioned, you just mentioned it, the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the league saying, hey, go get Aaron Rodgers. And you kind of got to listen to him because he has the tendency to be unhappy when things don't go his way.
Yeah, and by the way, the rest of the locker room is going to fall in line. Whatever Max wants, that's what they want. And if he thinks Rodgers has enough left to win them enough games to make the playoffs and build this thing up, then I guess that's kind of what they have to do as an organization. I'm just curious, like, What is Max Crosby seeing in Aaron Rodgers right now that leads him to believe he's capable of doing what this team needs, which is play the entire season and play at an elite level in a really tough division? I just don't see Rodgers having that left in his leg or his arm right now.
Yeah, but we both agreed that the landing spot that makes sense for Rodgers would be the Raiders, because the Raiders are the Raiders. They're super weird. And if he happened to hit lightning in a bottle with Rodgers, it feels very Raidersy. They've got a short window with Pete Carroll. No offense to death, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just doing the math. So they've kind of let you know exactly what they're trying to do. And if you want to just absolutely throw a curveball and say, what team does it make sense for? If I'm just throwing one out there, it would be the Raiders.
No, they're the only one where it makes sense on and off the field. Obviously, on the field, you understand why the Steelers would be into it. The fit, the leadership, the veteran, the defense. He doesn't have to do too much on that team, especially if he brings Devontae Adams with him. The Raiders, though, that's where the off-the-field stuff kind of aligns. Because I just think Pete Carroll has the personality to understand Aaron Rodgers and let Rodgers do his thing while also getting the results he needs on the football field. The one thing I would say about this Raiders defense is I think it has a lot of potential. They still need some help, but when you're starting your defense up front with Crosby and Christian Wilkins, one at end, one at tackle, that allows you to win at the line of scrimmage, and kind of everyone else benefits from that on the back end. So because of that, this defense with the right pieces year one could be the key to the whole team, and Rodgers won't have to do much.
My guy Josh Applebaum is coming loaded today. Sportsbook etiquette in person and bankroll management. Let's effing go, Applebottom. He joins us. Author, better, next.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
So I don't know if this is considered breaking news, but there's 4 minutes to play in the first in Brooklyn, and the Golden State Warriors have 5 points. Now, now that is weird, but let's back it up a little bit. You still have to handicap cities. And I was talking about this, like Dustin said, Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Maher. We're going to bring in our buddy Josh Applebaum. You still have to handicap a few cities. I was talking about it with Shine. 1 being Miami, 2 being New York, 3 being LA, and 4 being Vegas. When a team is in that town, you have to take into account that these are virile young men that like to throw down. They like buns, Josh. And they like to go out and they like to get hammered and they like to do what 20-somethings do. So how do you perform at work with a raging hangover? Not great. Maybe having to go to the clinic. Not great. So chill out, Dustin. You just relax. The Golden State Warriors. And here's another element to that. When the team sticks around in said city, you have to really handicap it. And what happened 2 nights ago, the Warriors beat the Knicks at Madison Square. That night or the next night, they went out and celebrated Draymond Green's 35th birthday, and all over social, they were getting blown out. So now they're getting blown out in a real game, 29-9 with a 2:28 to go in the first at Brooklyn, and Brooklyn has lost 5 straight games, and they stink. Just a thought. Just a thought.
I can go now.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Warriors are currently down 29-11. They're still favored. They're laying 1.5 now, down 29-11.
And that's what Josh said. Josh always thinking like a better Josh Applebaum, VSiN betting analyst. All Systems Go is the podcast. He's at Josh_insights. Of course, you can pre-order his book, his second book, the NFL Sharp Betting Playbook, How to Analyze the Market, Go Contrarian, and Bet Like a Data-Driven Wise Guy. As soon as we said the score, Josh, his betting brain goes, what can I get live line on the Warriors to win outright? Right, Josh?
You're exactly right, Patrick. And Dustin, great to be with you. So, yeah, that's kind of the way my brain works. Like anytime you see something crazy, lopsided to start a game, you're always thinking, hey, can I get a better number? So Dustin's totally right. It's the crazy part about this one is, they're down basically 20 points, but yet they're still minus 130 on the money line, minus 1.5, minus 115 on the spread. Kind of tells you. And remember, they were an 11-point favorite pre-flop going into this game. So if you think they can come back and win, you're getting a pretty good number at this point.
So Josh, like you're the system guy. You have systems you stand by. We're talking about the Warriors being potentially, allegedly hungover tonight, according to Patrick. I'm curious. Patrick is not a big hangover cure guy, but because you're the systems guy, I feel like you have a tried and true way of getting rid of your hangover. So when you wake up hungover in the morning, what does Josh Applebaum do?
So it's a great question, Dustin. I am getting older and these hangovers are getting much, much worse. So first I try to, try to take it a little bit easier than I used to back in the day. But I would say my tried and true, Dustin, is before you go to bed, you pound a ton of water and you take 3 Tylenol or Advil. You go to sleep, you wake up, maybe some, greasy food. I don't know if that's an urban myth or not. Sometimes that can help you, but pound water before you go to bed. And if it's really, really bad, and you got to do it, make yourself throw up. You're going to feel a lot better once you go to sleep.
Just took a weird turn.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's the true secret, though.
No, that's good. We are now streaming live on YouTube, Josh, and I noticed that you did a little extra with the hair today for the ladies.
Yeah, how do you like it, Patrick? A little volume.
It looks tremendous. I'm into it, bro. Great notes that you sent over. So let's have some fun with some of these, Josh. And the first one you said is sportsbook etiquette in person. The sportsbook, if you've never been, can be an intimidating place for new bettors because there's a protocol as to how to make the bet using the numbers and everything. But how about just etiquette in general?
Yeah, so I call this the don't be that guy segment, Patrick. You walk into a sportsbook and there's always that one person who's like standing in the wrong place or holding up the line or just making it annoying for you as a sports bettor because you're there to get your bet in, to sweat your bet, hopefully cash your bet. The reason I got thinking about this, Patrick, though, is some big news in my neck of the woods. I live like kind of northwest of Boston, but Nashua, New Hampshire is only 15 minutes for me, right across the border. And I'm going to take you guys here. There's a brand new sportsbook and casino that just opened up in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's called the Nash. So very, creative name there that they went with. But my whole point being is Elise said, let's go check it out. She's excited, Patrick, about all the different dining options. There's some restaurants she wants to check out. So she's got her whole other reason to go there with me. But I kept thinking to myself, how are people in New Hampshire going to handle this big sports book? And I'm basically trying to provide some tips here if you're new to the sports book. And of course, now, 95% of bets are placed on your phone. But still, when you go there, you want to know just a little bit to kind of get you along the way. Couple things I would say, Patrick, then I'll flip it to you guys because I want to know what your tips would be. One, I would say really dumb, easy thing, but you got to use cash. If you think you're going to use your Apple ID or your Venmo or write a check, old school, that ain't happening. So make sure you got cash and you're ready to go. Next, when you walk in there, to your point, Patrick, it's very intimidating. There's a lot of lights, a lot of numbers. I would find a seat. I would grab some betting sheets. You can get a free pen. Grab the sheets. Those are really important. A lot of books are actually getting rid of them, which I get it, but so you can write it down, take some notes. But the most important thing I want to mention is, what the heck do you say when you walk up to the ticket counter, see a ticket writer, and you want to place a bet? It's very important that you know what to say, because if you don't, you're going to hold up the line. You're going to confuse the people behind the window. So it all comes down to a couple things. One, know the ID number of the game. All these games that you're going to look at, if they're on the betting sheet or the LED board, you're going to have a 3-digit number, not the juice next to the odds, but right before the game. So find your game. Maybe you're betting Red Sox Yankees and it's game 323, 324. Get the right number, ID number of the game. So if I want to bet Red Sox game 324, give them my $50 and then say your bet type, money line, spread, whatever you're going to do. Whole point being is if you say here's $50 on the Hawks, we don't know if you're talking Atlanta Hawks, St. Joe's Hawks. You don't know if it's a future. That's my biggest thing that I see all the time. People walk up there and don't know what to say. They confuse the ticket writer. You got to know the ID number, the bet type, and the amount you're betting. That's the most important thing to me.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Dustin, you spent a lot of time in the casino. Would you add anything as far as etiquette?
I actually wanted to run them by Josh because I'm a psychopath. So I get annoyed and triggered by things just doing, I think, things that are supposed to be normal, but to me, they drive me nuts. So the first one is, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this. It's really obnoxious when people celebrate their bets in everyone else's face, usually because I'm on the other side of them. Like they just won the World Series, throwing their gloves in the air, high-fiving, screaming because they won a bet. Is that poor sportsbook etiquette, Josh?
So I'm kind of with you there. That does annoy me, especially if you're on the wrong side. And as a contrarian bettor, Dustin, anytime the crowd goes nuts, it's like, okay, that's bad for me. So, get it. You can celebrate your win. Betting's hard. When you win, you want to, you're excited about it. But I agree with you. Don't be obnoxious. The other thing that is important to me is, once you get that ticket, they're going to hand you the ticket. Don't just walk away. Read the ticket before you leave the window. Make sure it's the right bet, the right odds. Because once you walk away from the window, you have no power at all. You got to go with whatever's on that ticket. If you see an error, you're still up there. You can have them change it and fix it. And then hopefully if you win, and I see this all the time, tip the damn ticket writer. It's a hard job back there. It's a thankless job. You win a $20 bet, give them $3. You order Domino's, you tip the delivery guy, tip those ticket writers. I think it brings you good luck too.
Okay, I got another sportsbook etiquette question. The sports books that have the kiosks where you don't have to go to a ticket writer. When should people go to the ticket writer versus going to the kiosk?
So my answer to that, Dustin, would be if there's no line at the ticket window, I like going with the ticket window. I like talking to the people. I bet all my games pretty much online, so it's kind of fun when I get to, see Patrick out in Vegas or, go to Atlantic City or somewhere. So I would go up to the window. If it's a long line, skip the line. Go right to the kiosk. And I'm glad you bring that up, Dustin, because a big issue, as you guys know about, is basically books limiting sharps, people who have been flagged. And the other thing, I'm not going to get too matrix on you, but when you bet online, all the books that you have an account at that you bet through, they have a profile of you as a bettor. They know your win rate. They know your tendencies. If you win at too high of a rate, they can limit you or block you or just outright refuse your action. So a lot of bettors kind of like the kiosk, because you can kind of fly under the radar. They don't really know who you are. That's kind of a new way, like the old like Beard or Number Runner, when Billy Walters would get some kid out of college who looks like a nobody. Okay, he's going to bet. They're not going to deny his action. The kiosks are kind of like a new way to kind of stay under the radar. No line, or if there is a line, I would say hit the kiosk, Dustin.
Yeah, I think what bettors should understand is betting's not overly a democratic process. The books have all the power. They just do. They may pretend like they don't, but they do. So always keep that in mind. Advocate for yourself. The one thing I would say is never pay for a drink if you're in a casino. You can generally get free drink tickets even at the sports book.
Just ask.
If you're sitting at a bar, throw a quarter into the video poker, you get a free drink. That's what I would say if you're there drinking.
Maybe that's another question too, aside from you should get the free drink, but is there, you think, etiquette, Josh, on how long you can spend versus how much, or how long you spend in the sports book versus how much money you spend while you're there?
Ooh, that's a good question. We should have some kind of like ratio for that. But I would say, I mean, as long as you're there and you're paying, like, okay, I could order water. Let me order a Diet Coke. It costs $5, but like just spend a little money there. Like you're there. Is that what you mean? Or
yeah, no, it's like, so I'll do shows from the D and I will watch people sit there and they will not place a bet. They will not buy a drink, and they will occupy prime real estate and just be in the way of people trying to make money that day. And I feel like if you enter, you should have to spend some money while you're there.
I think that's a good point. I would also say too, though, what if I don't know, I'm playing devil's advocate, because sometimes you see people who like are just like totally blown away by the experience, don't know what to do. I'll give you a quarter, Dustin, maybe half of a game. If you're there all game, we're gonna have to move you at least to the side. Paying customers, they should get a little respect up front, I think.
All game. I see people there for the entire day through Sunday Night Football. So I guess the other etiquette I'd say is you can't save seats for people who aren't there. It's too busy. That's another thing I'd add.
Look, the bottom line is casinos are full of donks and full of the worst part of society. So trying to govern their scruples is the dumbest thing ever.
This is why you don't leave the house. This is why.
Well, when I lived in Vegas, the last place I wanted to be was inside a casino, because you're running into some of the. It's fun with your boys, your girls. You're just going out. You want to have a good night. It's a hell of a time. But just being in there regularly, you see some untoward behavior. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, let's move on from that. Josh Applebaum. Bankroll management. So this is an aspect of betting that you're talking to an audience now that may not even have heard the term bankroll management. So let's start there and the whole concept of it.
Yeah, it's super important. It's not sexy to talk about. It's probably pretty boring, and people, it's not going to get you clickbait. Like, it just doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's super, super important, because if you don't manage your bankroll with discipline, you could go broke very quickly, and then you're out of the game before you even started. So the first starting point is define your bankroll. And what that means is come up with a number that you would consider disposable income. My Elise's mom calls it funny money. She's always like, oh, you're going out, you need some funny money. Basically spending money that if I lit it on fire, it would be annoying, but it wouldn't hurt your life. Like, you could overcome that. So come up with your disposable income, your funny money. That could be $100. That could be $1,000. It really depends on your risk style and, your income level and all that. But once you come up with that bankroll, I would highly recommend flat betting. Like, there are basically two options to bet: flat betting and Kelly criterion. Flat betting is the way that I do it. I'm not saying it's the best, but I do think for the majority of bettors, it'll probably, save you a lot of losses. What that means is once you define your bankroll, make sure you bet the same amount on every single game. You'll see nowadays, like, people will bet a ton on the Yankees because they feel great about tonight. They'll bet a little bit on Patrick's Tigers. Like, they'll be all over the place in terms of what they're risking. I think you make it easy on yourself. Always risk one unit. And what that means is basically around 3% of your bankroll per play. So if you're starting with $100, there's nothing wrong with that. Hope you get some good bonuses and, you get some sweeteners there. But if you have $100, 3% of that is $3. That means you're risking $3 a game. You got 1,000, you're risking 30 a game. Come up with your bankroll, find your unit size. I wouldn't go above 5% per play, and then just grind that out. And again, the whole point is that betting is really hard. That's another thing people don't want to talk about. We all want to make it sexy and you're going to win and become a millionaire. No, it's really, really hard to win in sports betting. So limit your losses, maximize your wins. And then the big part of it, guys, parlays. Parlays can really crush your bankroll. Same game parlays are like a massive moneymaker for the sports books. I'm a big proponent of flat betting to risk, not betting to win. Again, avoiding parlays. It all sounds kind of boring, but if you are serious about sports betting, this is going to keep you afloat instead of, drowning very quickly.
Yeah, Josh, I think on the outside looking in, the thought is, I just pick winners and I win money. When really it's managing that money while you're doing that and on those runs. That's how you end up being successful. And I'm saying that as someone who is not good at that part of it. So that's why I bring it up. For you, Josh, when you're looking at your bets, I'm curious, how often are you looking back at your results, how much you're up, how much you're down to keep up with where you're at in your bankroll management?
Yeah, that's a huge part of it, Dustin. I'm glad you brought that up. So aside from your bankroll management, you got to get a sports betting app or a bet tracking app. There's a lot of them out there. I'm not going to name one and, promote them specifically, but you can find them very easily. A lot of new apps you can basically sync up to your sportsbook. So when you log into FanDuel or DraftKings or BetMGM or Caesars or ESPN Bet, whatever it is, you bet in your book, it'll automatically send it to your bet tracking app. And the reason for that is you got to kind of keep yourself honest. Like it's funny you mentioned that, Dustin, as long as I pick winners, I'm good. It's like, okay, I get that, but the juice is a factor. The price of the odds is a factor. That's going to, make you have to overcome a higher, not a 50%, but nearly 54%. But what I really like about the bet tracking app, it keeps you honest. It keeps your record available, but it really breaks down how you do per sport because we all want to be great at all sports. But I'll give you guys an example. I'm having a terrible NBA year. I'm having a pretty decent college basketball year. With my bet tracking app, I see that I'm doing pretty good in college. I'm doing terrible in the NBA. If I didn't have an app, I'd probably feel that way, but I wouldn't see the, units won or lost to really drive that home. Also, maybe I'm doing pretty good at college basketball, but I'm great at my spreads and I'm terrible at my over-unders. The bet tracking apps will break down your sports, your bet types. You'll be able to figure out, okay, I'm good at this, so let me lean into this. I'm struggling at this. Maybe I'll abandon it, or maybe I'll try to refine it and work on it. The bet tracking app is huge for keeping you honest and then learning about your strengths and weaknesses as a bettor.
That's tremendous.
I have a question. Sorry, Patrick. I'm curious. When you notice you're doing better in different sports, like over the course of a long period of time, will your unit size change for those sports that you're better or worse at, depending on how good you think you are at those?
Kind of. So I'll give you an example, Dustin. NFL was usually one of my stronger sports. I had a bad NFL year this year because, we saw basically favorites and overs have their best year in, I think it was 15 years, 20 years. It was just crazy. It's funny too. You see a lot of these sports books that they have their earnings calls and they're like, oh, we lost $300 million this year because it was an abnormally successful public streak of favorites. So the books, are feeling that too. But I think it just becomes a point to me, Dustin, where it's just, one unit every play. To me, it makes your life simple. It makes it easy. Instead of betting more or less on a sport, it's just, I'll dial back a sport I'm not great at. And I'll really lean into the one that, hopefully is going to continue to do well.
Josh Applebaum joining us here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. By the way, the Golden State Warriors have cut it to 10. It's 45-35. So with 4 minutes to play in the first, the Warriors had 5 points. There's 7:19 to play in the second. They've added 30. So that's why you always have to go in game to see if you can find some of those advantages. Your Celtics are up 42-34 over the 76ers. Now, I hesitate to call them the 76ers, Josh, because I've never heard of anybody on the 76ers team that's actually playing tonight. Load management in full effect in Beantown tonight.
Yeah, and this is why NBA is so difficult because, Patrick, you and I will watch a hockey game. They're breaking arms, getting their face smashed in. They don't miss a shift. NBA, LeBron bowed out of the All-Star game. I get maybe he's a bad example. He is 40, but just not knowing who's playing and who's not, that makes to me NBA betting really difficult. I will tell you guys, I have the Celtics over 58.5 win total. I think they're at 44 wins. Yeah. This is going to come right down to it. I think they need to go 15-5 the rest of the way, which they could do, but game like tonight, meaningless game. I need this win here tonight, guys.
Yeah, they're at 44. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They got like 20 games left. So
it's close, man.
And by the way, Josh, the last 2 are against Charlotte, so they'll probably rest everyone. That is going to be tough, man. And by the way, they should have cruised to this. Like they're just not taking the regular season seriously. So I guess that leads me into my next question about the postseason. How difficult is it to handicap the postseason for you with the way the regular season goes?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you want to take into account like, ESPN Hollinger analytics, stuff like that. We're getting ready for March Madness, and you've seen some crazy stat like, the last 10 March Madness winners have been top 5, like offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency. So like some of those numbers are important, regular season numbers, like for NBA to apply that. I'd also think, experience is a factor. Health is a factor. These are things you want to pay attention to. Right now the Celtics are no longer your favorite. I mean, OKC has been ridiculous. They're plus 165 at DraftKings to win the NBA title. Celtics second best odds plus 230. Maybe you play Celtics at plus 230 feeling like you have good value. But Celtics Thunder, I mean, I'd give the Celtics the edge with the experience. Thunder, still a young team, but I would love to see that NBA Finals.
Let's transition to college hoops. Josh Applebaum joining us. So Michigan State's getting beat up right now in the first. Iowa up 21-13. A weird spot for Michigan State, who have won a ton straight, beat really good teams, but they've got on Sunday to close out the regular season, they've got Michigan at home, so maybe a little bit of a look-ahead spot. We shall see as we continue. We had your boy on the program the other day, one Ken Pomeroy.
How did that go? I was so honored and I was so nerding out that you guys could talk to him. How'd it go?
I told him it's like having Sydney Sweeney on a college podcast. You know what I mean? Having Ken Pomeroy on a betting or a sports network, it's a good get. He's like the white whale. He was awesome, but he was telling us that obviously you've got Duke and Auburn. He said in all the years he's done the numbers, they're 2 of the historic teams. And he said Houston, by the way, is not very far behind. Give me a couple of takeaways thus far in college basketball.
Yeah, so on that topic, I actually was mentioning on my podcast today, the All Systems Go pod, how to create a contrarian bracket. I'm glad you brought this up because thinking about brackets, obviously, we got to wait a little bit for them to come out, go through the conference tournament, selection Sunday, yada, yada, yada. But the whole point of a contrarian bracket is you need to start from the middle out instead of outside in. So you got to pick a champion that no one else is picking. So Duke's plus 350, they're the favorite. Auburn's plus 370. Those are the 2 best teams. But I would assume the vast majority of the public who does a bracket this year, whether it's ESPN, CBS, Yahoo, whatever, they're going to pick Duke or Auburn. So if you're going to go contrarian, you want to differentiate yourself. Basically, if you pick Duke or Auburn and they win, you may not even win your bracket because everyone else is taking them. So to your point, Patrick, I'm glad you mentioned Houston. If you want to have a contrarian bracket, make Houston your champion. They're plus 800. Or Florida. They're also plus 800. Pick one of the teams that not everyone else is playing. Houston, to me, is really good defensive team. They're actually pretty good. I mean, just all the analytics in general. But I would also think, aside from just your bracket, also think about game by game basis, just leaning into betting against the public. It's every year with legalization, you're seeing, the Super Bowls, the March Madnesses get super heavily bet, and you're going to have the public basically not knowing much about college hoops, but playing all the good teams, which may win, but we just care about covering the spread. Like if Duke is minus 21 in the first round, can you play the dog and they lose by 20 and you cash, that sort of thing? That's something I'd keep in mind this March Madness.
I don't imagine, Josh, we will see Hawaii or Bakersfield at the end of your bracket winning the championship this year. However, I did read your Sharp report over at VSiN.com, which you do daily, and you do have a play on Hawaii at Cal State Bakersfield. Bakersfield laying 2.5, totals 141 and a hook. What are we doing tonight, Josh?
Yeah, Dustin, I'm a big Roadrunners guy tonight. Cal State Bakersfield. That's my play. I moneylined them around minus 135. Again, what if they win by 1 or 2, which happens quite a bit? You lose your 2 or 2.5. But this is one of those obscure late night games that I love to target because it's not a very heavily bet game. It's not a very popular game, but we've seen line movement, and it's been toward Cal State Bakersfield. They opened, -1, -1.5. They're up to 2. As you mentioned, 2.5 at a lot of shops now. They have a really good bet split, which bet splits are important to me in these tiny little games because I'll just abandon the contrarian idea because there's not enough public to fade. But at DraftKings and Circa, you're basically only getting about a third or half the tickets, but over 90% of the money on Cal State Bakersfield. And you got to ask yourself, where's that money coming from? It's not the public. It's probably wise guys who have targeted the game. Tons of offensive stat category advantages for Bakersfield. They shoot the three better. Offensive rebound percentage. They've been pretty good at home. 8-6, not amazing, but Hawaii's only 2-7 on the road. That, always gonna have to travel. I don't know why you'd ever leave Hawaii, Patrick, because it's basically the greatest place on earth. But the last thing that I look for in these games, guys, senior nights. Remember when we were seniors in high school? We were maybe seniors in college. Like, again, you get all the feels.
Twice, I almost did it twice in high school. I almost got to do two.
I respect that. I still remember my senior year, but whole point is like, you get the feels. It's the culmination, the end of your journey, yada, yada. But you see a lot of these teams really go all out on senior night. Like, Patrick's senior night, his mom and dad were on both sides of him, walking out to the court, getting him some flowers. He got a plaque. A lot of times you'll see these teams go really hard on senior night. That's added motivation, and it's Bakersfield senior night. So let's get it.
I'm into it. That was a great breakdown. By the way, be careful betting in these streets. If you were betting on Tampa Bay tonight, they're hosting the Sabres. What'd that close at? Like into the twos, easily. 230, 240, 250. I don't know. You have that closing number?
240, Patrick.
240. Buffalo leads 4-3. So be careful with those parlays, those money line parlays that you think are just going to be automatic. That's what I would say. Josh Applebaum, tremendous job. We'll talk to you next week, buddy. Great stuff with the etiquette and the bankroll management. All systems go. You mentioned the podcast. You can read Josh with the daily pick over at VSiN.com and pre-order the book, The NFL Sharp Betting Playbook. Josh, great stuff. Enjoy it. Good luck tonight.
I appreciate you guys. Have a great night.
With that lettuce looking sharp.
Oh, yeah.
We return our buddy, Jonathan Von Tobel, VSiN senior NBA analyst and host. He joins us. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. And remember, we're doing something we've never done. From now until Selection Sunday, we're offering free access to everything we do at VSiN.com. So that means you get the betting splits, the picks every day until Selection Sunday. So we'll get you, literally 10s, 20s, 30s, 40 picks every day over there, and it's free. Power ratings, unlimited stories, plus the VSiN Watch app. So you can get it all now for free over at VSiN.com. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher, as we welcome you back. Jonathan Von Tobel, you can check out his picks over at VSiN.com for free right now. VSiN host, senior NBA analyst, of course, at me, JVT on Twitter, and he's on location tonight. JVT, where are you?
I am sitting just outside the High Limit Gaming Room at Circa, about to enter into a blackjack tournament that I was invited to. Just chilling out Circa. What's up?
How do you feel about your levels of skills for blackjack?
Okay, well, so I'll be perfectly honest. I'm okay at blackjack. Like, we did this one. I was invited. This is the third one that I've done so far. It might be the fourth. And the first one, I finished fourth and got – and the concept for your audience is, depending on how high you finish, you get a free roll future in the selected sport of that time. So for this one, depending on where you finish, you're going to get a free roll future of a certain amount of money here at Circa for the NCAA tournament. So the first time we did it was baseball season, and I finished fourth or fifth, and I got a $7,000 free roll in the Houston Astros to win the World Series. We know how that ended. So I'm okay. The problem is I don't know if I want to win, because I do believe that if I don't make it past this round, my prize is about $1,000 worth of free play on the slots. And I think my hands are a little itchy, and I might just tank this out so I can get that instead.
All right. Well, good luck with the tournament. Hey, we just had our buddy Josh Applebaum on, and he was talking about sportsbook and casino etiquette. As somebody that has been in a casino, I don't know, for the past 10 years of your life, do you have anything you'd like to pass along as far as etiquette at the sports book?
Yes. So this is this is not at every sports book, but it's at the sports books in which there are private television seats. So for those maybe who aren't familiar, there's spots out here like a Red Rock or something like that. Quite a few. Where out in Vegas, there's individual private seats that are first come, first served, that each of them have their own private television. So that's like a great grab if you can get in and grab that, especially on a Sunday, whatever it is. But what is the thing that drives me nuts that people will do is they will get that seat, and then they will take one of the big sheets, you know what I mean, that they offer, all the sports odds, whatever, and they will take one of the pencils, and they will write in very big letters on the pencil or on the paper, taken, and put it down, and then leave the seat so they can go do whatever they want, get a coffee, get some food, take a dump. No. Once you leave in this environment, that is free reign. You don't just get to – there's not law. Right? You don't just get to write taken on a piece of paper, and all of a sudden I have to adhere to that word because you wrote it down so you could go get a double frap over at Starbucks. I don't think so, my friend. So I willingly take those seats every once in a while, but that is the thing that drives me nuts. That and the leaning the chair up against the bar so you can keep your spot at the machine. Screw you. You do not get to just do that and gallivant off and do whatever you want for 30 minutes. This is a free country, and I will take what is mine. Possession is 2/3 of the law, I believe. So let's go. That is the thing that drives me nuts. You cannot save your seat at a casino.
Look, I agree with a lot of what you just said. You obviously spend a lot of time in casinos. So I think for you, someone who grew up in Las Vegas, this next week is massive. How would you rank March Madness in Vegas for those who have never been compared to other sporting events in the city?
There's no question about it. It is the best sports weekend. There's no doubt about it. You talk to sports. You talk to sports books. You talk to operators. You talk to food and beverage people out here. This is by far the best weekend when you're talking about the people that come in terms of entertainment. Because think about it, Dustin. You come in for the Super Bowl. You're coming in for one game. And if you're sitting on a Chiefs, imagine making a trip to come out here for this last Super Bowl, and you're all loaded up on the Chiefs, and you watch that game. You know how terrible your weekend was? But for March Madness, you come out here on Thursday, and specifically the first round, we should note, because that's what you're asking about. That is one of the best days out here, and I think it is the best day, and a lot will tell you it's the best day, because you get so many games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It is by far the best weekend to come out here. Screw championship weekend, screw any of these one-off events. if you're coming out to Las Vegas for something sports betting and sports related, the first 2 rounds of March Madness are it. There's so many ballrooms, specials, casinos, so many places where you can take in the games. By far, it's the best event in Las Vegas. I don't think there's any question about it.
Jonathan Von Tobel on deck at Circa for a blackjack tournament, talking to us here on VSiN Live. And, of course, he is our senior NBA analyst, one of the best to do it when talking about the NBA. And without a question, the game of the night is here in Los Angeles with the Knicks in town. Now, you got a great number at 4.5. The number dipped down to 2.5. I thought maybe that had something to do with Luka, but I just got a text from Dustin. Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves are all available for tonight's game against New York, so they're all going to play. That number's dipped down to 2.5 here. What do you got, Jonathan?
Yeah, and if you guys can double check, because I'm running around, the big question for New York was OG Anunoby. And I think that this line move would tell you, at the very least, the market believes that OG is going to play tonight. Mitchell Robinson, I believe, was also questionable. Given the fact that I believe he's still in a minutes restriction, that's not going to really move it too much. But I think OG is going to play tonight, and I think that's why you get down here. Because, look, for anybody that's listening right now, the way that I rate it and just measuring the market, you can kind of tell home court's worth about 2.5 points. So if OG Anunoby's going to play and you're making this 4.5, you're in kind of in a ballpark at least. You're saying that the Lakers are 2 points better on a neutral than the Knicks. I don't think that's the case. These two teams, to me, are equals to one another, and that would translate, right, if this is 2.5 for the Lakers at home. So I think that's why you've seen this move. One, it's an inflated number. Two, OG Anunoby's maybe going to play, and I think that's why you get down to 2.5. So when I saw 4.5 overnight, that's why I jumped on that, because if OG was going to be out there, this number should be these two teams equal to one another, not 4.5 and a big edge to the Lakers.
Yeah, JVT, I'm seeing OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, and Precious Achiuwa all game-time decisions for the Knicks today, and that's as of like 30 seconds ago. I have a question about Mitchell Robinson. Obviously, he's got to get into game shape, and we keep joking about how he's supposed to save the Knicks season. But in a matchup where the Lakers don't really have a big, could this be a spot where Mitchell Robinson could be a key piece and the Knicks could get back on track on the road? Or you just think the Lakers are just rolling downhill too much and the Knicks just don't look right?
No, I mean, it could be. I think the problem is, like, if you're going to test the theory that the Lakers can't protect the rim, I want a guy who can get to the rim, not just like a center, right?
Yeah.
The other night, for example, the Pelicans, Zion Williamson destroyed this team. What did he have? Nearly 40 points in that game. They ultimately lost by double digits and didn't cover, but Zion destroyed this team. They were very effective. I think they got 37 shots within 4 feet of the basket, the Pelicans did. They were just going north-south the entire time and getting it done. Like, I want guys who can attack them north-south and doing that, as opposed to, hey, I have a center and you don't. We should be able to use this. Because Mitchell Robinson, as you know, Dustin, he's not a guy that's creating his own shot on the low block. He's not one that you're posting up and feeling comfortable, like, go to work, big fella, and let's get this done. I don't think that's going to be the case. So he could help. He could clean up the glass against a small team, get some second-chance opportunities. He's not exactly a lob threat, so you're not, like, tossing lobs up to him on pick and rolls. He can finish a couple, but I want more of a guy who can pressure you from the perimeter and beat you off the bounce and then go after that issue that the Lakers have defensively. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. What I like about the Knicks, though, if I can expand on it, is if you go through some of the numbers, and I tweeted this out, since Luka Doncic has been part of the team, the Lakers have given up 23 uncontested three-point attempts per game. So a defender is 6 feet or farther away, wide open shots, according to NBA tracking data. And yet Lakers opponents are shooting 34% on those attempts. So you're giving up the 9th most uncontested threes, but you're 7th in opponent shooting in those threes. That's not going to continue, especially against a Knicks team that is going to be able to shoot. Shouldn't continue on Saturday when they go to Boston as well. So that's part of the logic here, is that this Knicks team is going to be able to test a defense that has been giving up wide open attempts like it's their job.
I don't know if you were able to follow it, but maybe a little hungover to start from the Draymond Green birthday party. Golden State had 5 points with 4 minutes to play in the first at Brooklyn. They end up scoring 15 in the first, and then they outscored Brooklyn 40-25 in the second.
Ooh.
And the Nets lead 60-55 at the break. How is your Steph bet?
Can you guys tell me how many? I was going to say, can you tell me how many threes Steph has?
Yeah, I was just going to tell you that he has 4 tonight.
Okay, all right. Okay, we're live.
Oh, yeah, you have that
live.
big bet, right?
Yeah, I got 150-1 that he hits his 4,000 3-point shot. I think it's Saturday against the Pistons. This is the last game before that, so he's got 4. What'd you say? What quarter they're in? They're in the second quarter.
It's halftime.
Yeah, it's halftime. Okay, if he can, it's a large ask, but if he gives me 4 more, we are live, boys.
Let's go. He has been playing out of his mind. Obviously, the spacing much better with Butler. I feel like we ask you this every time. Are you any different to your thoughts about the Warriors at this point?
No, my thought about the Warriors is the same as the Lakers, and there's a VSiN listener who's a big Lakers fan that is in my mentions about it, and it's the same thing. I just want to see more. It's a very small sample size for both of these teams with their new rosters, and I have my concerns for both of them still. I have concerns about the Lakers' defense. I have concerns about the Warriors' offense and spacing, especially when Jonathan Kuminga comes back. That's not a team that has a ton of shooting. When you talk about Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga on the floor, talk about 3 non-shooters that if I'm drawing up a game plan, part of my game plan is go ahead, boys, shoot the ball. And so I do wonder what that looks like in a setting where every single game you are game planning, matching up, and going after weaknesses, and that's going to be a big one. So I just want to see more. I think it's a fair ask for both of these teams, and that's Golden State for sure, but they have played extremely well.
I think also fair, JVT, the NBA is kind of in a weird spot right now with things where players resting. So just curious, we opened the show talking about this. It's like the low-hanging fruit, but you're someone who provides solutions. We have a 76ers Celtics game. No Maxey, no George, no Lowry, no Jaylen Brown, no Drew Holiday, no Porzingis, no Sam Hauser, no Al Horford. Like, how do you feel about this? I know it's late in the year, but how do you feel about what's going on with the game and how hard it is to keep up with these things?
It's hard to keep up with, but what irritates me about this conversation, Dustin, is like the names that you just listed off, right? Like, majority of them are actually hurt. You know what I mean? So, like, we have this conversation about these guys. For example, Drew Holiday has, like, this mallet finger. Have you guys seen this? Where essentially the tendon in one of his fingers is either torn or partially torn, so the tip of his finger is just dead. It just hangs limp. So, like, they're waiting for that to heal. He can't go out there and play. Jaylen Brown, 2 games ago against the Toronto Raptors, took a knee to his thigh. He's had those issues. Kyle Lowry's been out for a very long time now for the Philadelphia 76ers. Like, sprinkled in there are guys that are resting. But it's funny whenever I get this conversation with some, I always ask the question, okay, who do you think should play? And then they immediately go to something else because it's like, no, you're either going to accuse these guys of faking injuries, which is not the case. Yes, there are guys that are resting and actually are taking the night off. Those are generally listed. But to your overall point, it is a challenge. It's absolutely tough. I'll tell you the other night, we're talking about the Knicks and the Warriors. On the overnight, bet the Knicks -3.5. The number goes up to 5.5 because it was the second leg of a back-to-back for the Warriors. It looked like Curry was going to sit. They had just played in Charlotte the other night. He twisted his ankle on a closeout, had some comment after the game where it's like, I don't know if the ankle will let me play. I felt like a genius. By the time we got the tip-off, Karl Anthony Towns got ruled out, Steph Curry got ruled in, and I was laying 3.5 at a game that closed pick. Like, that sucks, you know? But, like, that's the danger of handicapping this league, and those are the things that are going to happen. So I understand it's tough, but I would challenge anybody to tell me, outside of the guys that are labeled as resting, what these guys are dealing with or not dealing with, that you would challenge that person to his face and say you can play through that. And I think that there's going to be very few guys who would. Forget
what you think the books would do. If the Cavs played the Celtics in a 7-game series, what would your number be?
So we've been talking. Actually, it's funny. We've been talking about this quite a bit. What I thought was going to be market would put it at like minus like $3, -250. I would make it closer to like -200, -175 in favor of Boston. I should specify. I do like this Celtics. I like this Cavaliers team a lot. Freudian slip, and I think they can compete. I mean, look, they have earned a season split with Boston. They have earned a season split with Oklahoma City. This team has a resume that is strong and has been telling us that they can compete with the best all season long. Do you guys know how many points Donovan Mitchell is averaging against the Boston Celtics?
A lot.
35.5. Good guess. 35.5.
Yeah, he's lights out.
Yes, in 4 games he has played against them. He's averaging 35.5 points. Like, that's a guy who understands what that matchup is and is feeling pretty comfortable. I think that team can push them. So, like, my strategy once we get to the Eastern Conference Finals will be, because I think they'll be moderately priced for you if you're a Cavs guy like me, plus 1.5 games, plus 2.5 games. You'll be able to get that on a price that I think is palatable, and I'm going to be very curious to see what the market does. Obviously, it has to do with the playoff run. And remember, too, as we just talked about, Celtics have not been healthy. They've been playing lineups for a long time that they haven't been playing in the regular season usually. That does factor into this, but the Cavaliers are alive in that series, I believe.
So I'm just curious because you are a Clippers fan, and your boy James Harden dropped 50 last night. Are you okay with them running this thing back next year again? Because it's clearly not going anywhere.
I mean, I don't know if it's clearly not going anywhere. It depends, like, what your goal is, right? I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I don't know if it's clearly not going anywhere. I memean, I don't know if it's clearly not going anywhere. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I mean, I think that, like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I I think they can win a playoff series. I don't know if that's going to translate into something, bigger picture, because I think the middle of the West is soft and that any of these teams have a really high ceiling against one another. It's just that when you run into Oklahoma City, you're all going to get slaughtered. So in theory, I think a run to a Western Conference Finals, if the bracket breaks right for them, is in play if they're fully healthy. But like Dustin, they don't have a choice to run this back. You know what I mean? Like, what's the other option? That they have set themselves up to do this. They've done a pretty decent job in building a roster that's got some interesting pieces around it that you would probably hold on to. But this is the way they set it up. So, like, if you're asking me, would you like them to run it back? They don't really have a choice but to run it back at this point right now. So I wouldn't really have a strong opinion on it because this, I think, is what you have to do. It's what you signed up for.
I'm not bitter, but it was fun watching James Harden shoot free throws last night.
Come on now, stop being a hater. That was one of the – so I had the Clippers last night, and they've been in terrible form. But for anybody listening to you guys, that's such a good example of a market overreaction. Your Pistons were 4.5-point favorites.
It's crazy. I know.
On the road against the Clippers team that, if we're talking about measuring them against one another, at worst, these two teams are equals to each other. And again, Kawhi didn't play. Ben Simmons was out. DJJ was out. Norm Powell was out. That iteration of the Clippers is still at the very least an equal with the Detroit Pistons. But market freaked out about the loss to the Suns the night before. They freaked out in a positive way about how good your Pistons have been. But yeah, it was 4.5 at one point before the game started. They never came close to covering that number.
They were never in the game.
Yeah, never. They were tied at halftime, wasn't it?
I mean, they were tied. Yeah, they took the lead. But if you watch the game, which you did, it never felt like the Pistons were going to win that game. To me.
Yeah.
All right.
Good
luck. Good luck. With the tournament. That's Jonathan Von Tobel, VSiN host, senior NBA analyst, me, JVT, on Twitter. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Okay, see ya. Yeah, I mean, he's probably right. I was betting with I wasn't betting with. I was literally just betting with my heart last night with the Pistons. But they shouldn't be laying. They shouldn't be laying against a Clippers team that plays good defense. They shouldn't be laying that much on the road. He's right.
No, but here I like that you did that. I like that you backed your team because for as long as I've known you, there has not been a moment since 2016 where you've ever been excited about the Detroit Pistons. And I know going back to your childhood, that team meant something to you.
Oh yeah. No, this is a lot of friends are popping out of the woodwork to talk about this team because there's also, it has a Detroit feel to it. Like part of the reason Detroit fans loved, and Tony knows this, our buddy in Detroit, they love the hard hat Pistons, the early aughts Pistons with Rip and Chauncey and Rasheed and that whole crew and Tayshaun. Part of the because and Ben Wallace, because they were just grinders. Like, there wasn't a Hall of Famer on the team. They just grinded their asses off, and people love that. And this team this year very much has the same vibe. It's a close-knit team. It's a team that works their asses off and beats you up. And Detroit likes a team like that, so you like to see it.
And they're going to be – there's always a team that's young and ahead of schedule and unexpectedly ready for the postseason. They're either going to give a really good contending team a 6-game series that they're not expecting, or they're going to upset someone. Like that's how I feel about this Pistons team. They have a good blend. They have the right vets in there to help the young guys along. I've always been a Tobias guy, even though I don't think I don't know if you win a championship with Tobias Harris on your team, but I like seeing him have another really good year for them.
It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. We got Charles Barkley saying some crazy stuff coming up next.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Big game tonight here in Los Angeles with the Knicks in town. And my man Twizzy in Los Angeles has something to say about it. What up, Twiz?
Hey, man, what is going on, Patrick, man? You know, look, real quick, you know I listen every day, and I really hope y'all got an apology from that dunk of a Raider that was talking smack about the crew, you know what I'm saying? I don't like that at all. And
I want a donk. Where you been, man?
And, oh, man, you know, I'm listening every day, man. I had a different schedule, so I'm back on my normal schedule now, so I'm going to be calling in a little more. And, Patrick, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Listen, who's better than you?
I'm glad you're sticking up for the LA fans. You know, I always say that we're some of the best fans because we have so many options. We have such great weather. We have so many things we can do, and yet we still choose to go to games. We still support our team just like everywhere else. But look, and you know what? And real quick, that exercise that you guys did for the quarterbacks in the first round, I would love to see you guys do that for other positions, but in the first like 3 picks, go back the same time and just do the first 3 picks and see how non-quarterbacks fare. And then
done deal. We need topics, Twiz. You just gave us a topic. Thank you very much.
I just thought that was a great exercise. I really enjoyed that exercise, and I know you can't do the whole first round, but the first 3 picks of non-quarterbacks going back the same time and just seeing how those guys fared in those same categories, you know, the 3 categories that you had. But look, the Lakers, man, I get that we don't have a center, right? But we are so big all over the court besides the big position, right? And I cannot for the life of me see us losing to anyone but maybe Denver. I don't know if OKC has the dogs in the backcourt to beat us. You know, especially if LeBron is going to play at that level. You know what I mean? I just want to hear what you guys think about it, and what do you think our chances are of actually doing something?
I appreciate it. Twiz, you're the best, man. Miss you, buddy. I'm starting to really buy into this team. That's all I can say. I think if we got 5 players on the court at one time, and when 2 of them are Luka and LeBron, it could get interesting in the postseason. Simply put,
because there's an element with them where playoff LeBron and playoff Luka are not the same players you're getting right now. You'll get more minutes out of them, more production, and other teams just don't have 2 guys like that.
What's up with Shedeur Sanders? Is his stock really falling that much? Tony Pauline has the answer coming up next.
This is VSiN Live. Covering radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
It is VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. VSiN's got Champ Week going on right now. So from right now, literally, until Selection Sunday, we're offering free access to everything we do at VSiN.com. So that means you literally get everything that everybody pays for. Betting splits, you get all the picks, power ratings, unlimited stories, plus the VSiN Watch app. It's something I don't think we'll ever do again, so you may as well take advantage of it now. Go over to VSiN.com to check out the great deal. As we welcome you back, Dustin Swedelson again. I'm Patrick Maher, and we welcome everybody joining us on our live YouTube stream, which is now up and going. Just got going this week. We're going to slowly build this thing, so make sure you jump in there at VSiN Live on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Let's get the algorithm pumping, and we'll have some fun with it and spread the word for us, if you will. It's time to transition to some NFL draft talk and NFL talk in general. Tony Pauline, Sportskeeda.com consulting editor and draft analyst. You can find Tony on Twitter. He's one of the best to do it when it comes to talking about the draft, at Tony Pauline, as far as Twitter and X is concerned. Tony, welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you for that introduction.
Of course, and it's great to talk to you. Let's just start with the Combine. Did anything stand out to you? Obviously, less and less are participating now, but any takeaways from the Combine in Indy?
Yeah, I think the turf had a lot to do with why the players were not less or fewer players participated. As I reported, after the 2024 season, the Lucas Oil Stadium put down a new turf, and the Combine just happened to be the first event on that turf. So if you watch, especially the first group, the defensive linemen, they were falling all over the place. But, what did I learn? I learned that it's a very mediocre group of quarterbacks. It's a one-man show in Cam Ward. Everyone else has got questions. I learned it's a great group of running backs. I learned that there are some outstanding offensive linemen that are going to be available in the draft. And there's also a lot of good defensive front players, whether it be defensive tackles, whether it be edge rushers. That's going to be the strength of the draft.
So, Tony, you mentioned the Cam Ward thing, and it looks like, according to the betting market, a heavy favorite to go number one overall, unless something absolutely insane happens. That's the expectation. The question is, we don't know what team will be taking him. If you could give us the short list of what you're hearing, who is on that list of teams that seems like they want to take Cam Ward number one overall?
I think it's going to be 50% right now, Tennessee Titans. Again, as I reported at Sportskeeda, the Titans like them. They want to trade out, but if they don't get the big package, they're going to stay there and likely take them. I think one of the heavier favorites to move up and draft them would be the New York Giants, and then keep an eye on the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, the Giants and the Raiders need a quarterback. If the Raiders can't get Sam Darnold in free agency, I think they're going to be very active. Both of those teams, especially the Raiders, wanted to move up last year and get a quarterback.
What is it, Tony, you like so much about Cam Ward?
I put a premium on quarterbacks that are playing their best football when they enter the draft. And there's no doubt about it that Cam Ward was a significantly better quarterback in 2024 than he was in 2023. You could really tell from that first game he played after transferring to Miami against the Florida Gators. He looked like a completely transformed quarterback, the way he sees the field, his command and his control of the offense, the way he spreads the ball around. Accurate. Does have to stop holding the ball too long, which got him into trouble. Seemed to improvise a little bit too much. But, I mean, his game was so much better last year. That's always a big plus on my draft board.
So, Tony, you wrote at Sportskeeda.com about Shedeur Sanders, the other top quarterback prospect in this class, and about his draft stock falling. How much value do you put in some of the stuff that's been leaked out about the off-the-field stuff, or do you believe it's his on-field play the reason why Shedeur is falling in the mock drafts right now?
It's all of it. It's all of it. I mean, it's the complete opposite of Cam Ward when you look at the film. You could make the argument that Shedeur Sanders was a better quarterback in 2023 than he was in 2024, or at the very least, he showed little progress in his game, and he had made a lot of the same mistakes, holding the ball too long, some crazy passes where he puts the ball up, for grabs. There are some off-the-field issues, and he's done himself no favors in the lead-up to the draft. I mean, you start off with the Shrine Bowl. There was a lot of excitement. He's going to throw at the Shrine Bowl. They said he was going to be limited, maybe some individual stuff. he shows up one day wearing sweats, makes an appearance, and then leaves. Then you have the whole issue last week at the Combine. Not even last week, Saturday at the Combine. Shows up, was wearing this flashy chain around his neck, really doesn't do anything. This is a huge job interview, the Combine. This is even through the entire process. It's a huge job interview with employers that are going to invest tens of millions of dollars into your services. You better prove like you want to be there and you want to be part of it, or it's going to turn a lot of future employers off.
Tony Pauline, Sportskeeda.com consulting editor, draft analyst, X. You can find him, Tony Pauline. You mentioned the running backs. Obviously headlined by Ashton Genty. Tell us what you think about Genty and then what's behind him.
I mean, a little shorter guy. He came in at the Combine just over 5'8.5", but a 3-down back. He could run on the inside. He's got the strength and power to running the inside. He's got the vision to pick and choose his spots. On film, he shows the agility to turn the corner, a good perimeter ball carrier, and a terrific pass catcher out of the backfield. People will say, well, he played in the Mountain West. Go back and watch his game against Oregon, which is one of the better defenses in the nation, and watch how he picked that Duck defense apart. After that is Marion Hampton of North Carolina, who some teams actually have rated higher than Ashton Genty. I don't, but he's bigger than Genty. He goes 6 foot, 221 pounds, a guy who can grind it and pound it out on the inside, but he's also fast. Ran a 4.46 at the Combine, and more importantly, he plays to that speed. If you watch the film, he'll beat defenders into the open field, can take it to the house. But it's a really good group after that. Caleb Johnson of Iowa, Quinshon Junkins of Ohio State, Trevor Etienne of Georgia, Travion Henderson of Ohio State. And all these guys bring something different. The Judkins of the world are more the inside grinders. The Etiennes and the Hendersons are the creative ball carriers. And Caleb Johnson does a little bit of everything well.
So the big question atop the board is Travis Hunter, Tony. And is he going to be a corner? Is he going to be a receiver? Your latest mock that I saw you put up there at sportskeeda.com has him going number 3 overall to the Giants. And as a Giants fan, I love that. Just what am I getting? Am I getting a corner? Am I getting a receiver? Am I getting a little bit of both?
No, I think it's C, a little bit of both. I think what's going to happen is that team that drafts him, let's just say hypothetically the Giants, they select him with the 3rd pick. They're going to draft him with one position in mind, yet they'll use him at the other position. Now, the Giants are going to be in need of a number 2 receiver real soon. They also need a cornerback, but they need a number 2 receiver because Darius Slayton isn't sticking around. So if the Giants draft him as a receiver, I think what you'll see is Travis Hunter put on the field in certain nickel and dime packages on defense. He's not going to play nearly as many snaps as he played in college. He's not going to be able to do it. His body's not going to hold up. And the fact of the matter is, the best receivers that he faced in the Big 12 will be the 3rd and 4th receivers that he'll face on Sunday. So it's, from a talent point of view, he's not going to be able to do it. I think he'll have one primary position with whichever team drafts him, yet he'll see action at that other position, whether it be wide receiver or cornerback.
Tony, 2 quarterbacks, Jackson Dart and Quinn Ewers. What's your takeaway?
Different types of quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers has a good arm. He's a vertical passer. He's sort of in that Kenny Stabler mold. If the Raiders don't get a quarterback in round 1, I could see them going with Ewers in round 2. But he never really improved his game. He never showed a lot of progress. If you remember, as a true freshman, he had that great game against Alabama, and he broke his collarbone. And then it's been kind of up and down. Doesn't always pull the trigger quickly. He showed some hesitation. That's got to be figured out. Jackson Dart's just the opposite. Jackson Dart's got it going on between the ears. He's a great leader of the offense, does a great job controlling and moving the team down the field, but he's more of a timing passer, more of an underneath passer doesn't have the great vertical arm.
What about Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe? Because he's a guy who I don't think performed very well at the Senior Bowl and maybe tested a little bit better in Indy. Is he a guy teams are targeting in like the 2nd, the 3rd round for the draft this year?
Yeah, he will be a day 2 pick. Jalen Milroe physically is the most gifted quarterback in this draft. When you look at arm strength, you look at athleticism, you look at the ability to pick up yardage with his legs. He's a high character guy. He's a great leader. But really, since that Georgia game in the middle of the season, when Alabama was up big and then Georgia came back and Milroe hit the 75-yard pass late in the game for Alabama to win the game. His game has gone downhill, and, you were right. He was not good at the Senior Bowl. I was at the workout on Saturday. He did not throw the ball well at the Combine. Even if you look at late in the season with Alabama, he was winning games with his legs, not his arm, because he seemed to lose a lot of confidence in his passing. So I think you take him in day 2 of the draft. If you have a real good quarterback coach, a guy who knows how to develop quarterbacks, you could hit a home run with Jalen Milroe because the sky's the limit for that guy.
Tony, give us a grade on this wide receiver crop and a couple of standouts.
Yeah, I mean, compared to other classes, it's not very good at all. I like Ted McMillan because he's a big game-controlling receiver, but he's not fast. I think if I was going to give it a grade, I'd probably say C+. You may even say C compared to some of the outstanding classes in the past. A guy to keep an eye on that I really like is Dante Thornton of Tennessee, who was a bigger receiver, 6'4.5", 212, ran a 4.49 at the Combine. He ran faster. He ran in the 4.3s at the Combine, plays to that speed. He's a big guy who can take it down the field. Tez Johnson of Oregon didn't run well at the Combine, but he's a quick guy, explosive, catches the ball extremely well. And then Jack Bash of TCU. Great story with everything that happened with his brother tragically on Bourbon Street New Year's Day, but just a tough guy who wins out for the contested throws and overachieves, plays over his head.
So, Tony, I'm looking at the betting odds, and right now, Penn State edge Abdul Carter is the second shot to go number 1 overall at plus 190. Cam Ward's the favorite, minus 250. Do you think there's any scenario where Carter could go number 1, and do you think he's the type of prospect that's worth trading up for that number 1 pick?
Well, he is the number 1 player on my board. He's been the number 1 player on my board since August, so that hasn't really changed. Now, is there a scenario? Well, yeah. I mean, if there's a lot of back and forth in that Tennessee Titan war room and they can't, trade that pick, or they don't get the package of selections that they want to move down, I could see Tennessee potentially taking him because he is that quote-unquote impact defensive player. Would I be trading up for Abdul Carter? I would not, because I like Jalen Walker. There's other good pass rushers or edge rushers in this draft. I just think that there is enough talent at that position that you can get a real good player, literally in the top 5, top 6 with Jalen Walker of Georgia, even a few other guys, Michael Williams of Georgia as well, that you don't have to give a whole lot away to, or you shouldn't give a lot away to move up and get Abdul Carter.
Just your opinion, Tony, is Cam Ward worth trading up for? Worth giving away assets and trading up for to grab?
I mean, it depends on how much you're giving away. You look at the New York Giants. We talked about them before. The Giants have to win or have to show competitiveness, in 2025, or a lot of people are going to lose their job, and that starts with the quarterback position. So, I mean, if I am Joe Schoen or Brian Dable, I'm looking at trading up. But then again, if I'm John Mara, I'm going to say, hey, listen, let's not give away the farm for this guy, because if you were 6-11 next year, we got a new coach, we got to get a new coach, new general manager, and we gave away all these draft assets. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, and Tony, there's always a chance the Giants are in on Sam Darnold. So I'm curious. It feels like the prospects didn't get the highlight they normally get this year in Indy at the Combine, and that the Sam Darnold talk kind of took over and the Matthew Stafford talk took over. What have you heard about Sam Darnold, who I think I remember you being pretty high on him, but saying he was raw when he was selected in 2018? When you go back and think about what you heard at Indy, what do you expect to happen with Darnold here?
Well, going back, I mean, I liked his ability, but my problem with Sam Darnold coming out of USC was he turned the ball over way too much, whether it was fumbled snaps, whether it was interceptions. What I heard at Indy is what I reported at Sportsbook. Everything else had to fall in line, and then Sam Darnold would be addressed because, for all intents and purposes, he's a one-year wonder. It's not a guy like Matthew Stafford, who's had a lot of successful seasons, has won a Super Bowl, and, has got a big body of work behind him. Right now, it looks like it's going to be the Giants or the Raiders. I was told by somebody in Darnold's camp that Pete Carroll would really like to bring Darnold in for the Raiders. I don't see a much bigger market than that. Obviously, the Saints aren't going to go after them. The Saints are going to start with somebody younger, somebody new, since they got a brand new coach. I think what's going to happen is it may have to be a situation where the Aaron Rodgers story plays out, and then Sam Darnold finds his home.
Tony, last question. You wrote about this at sportskedia.com. Ben Johnson and the Bears draft plans. What do you expect the Bears to do with the new head coach?
Well, they've called. I read about Ben Johnson. I believe the second day of the combine, and basically he's going to bring some of that Detroit Lion mentality with him to the Chicago Bears, but he's also going to build the system around Caleb Williams, who he really likes a lot, which is one of the reasons why he took that job. Now, we've already seen them make two pretty big moves on that offensive line, getting Jonah Jackson and Thune there to improve the interior of the offensive line. Then maybe they go tackle with Will Campbell, but I think Ashton Genty would be a great pick for them. They need help at running back. It would be another piece to help Caleb Williams foster his development, not only as a guy who can, carry the ball, but a pass catcher out of the backfield. And don't forget, when he was at Detroit, they took Jahmyr Gibbs rather early in Detroit, so I don't think he has any issues taking a running back in the early part of the draft.
Tony Pauline, sportskedia.com, consulting editor, draft analyst, at Tony Pauline on X. That was awesome, Tony. Thanks for the info. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me back.
Okay, you got it, buddy. We'll have you back again as we get closer to the draft. Of course, a lot of great information. So in a draft where, as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, a month ago, it was a legit debate, Shedeur or Cam as the number one overall prospect. It no longer is a debate.
No. But I don't think the off-field stuff with Shedeur is making that big a deal. I think maybe we had overhyped him leading into the combine and everything. And now that all that stuff has come out about him being weird in meetings and what he wore to practice and not throwing and not testing, I think now that's the built-in excuse for why he's falling. I think the limited arm strength and the questions about the system at Colorado, the bubble screens to Travis Hunter and him doing a lot of that work there, them having essentially no run game, so he's throwing the ball 45, 50 times pretty much every game the last two seasons, and then going up against some really bad Big 12 defenses. I think all of that kind of compiled, and now we're using what happened at the combine as a reason to knock him down. I think Shedeur Sanders as a prospect, what you're getting is a pretty smart quarterback, guy who understands about playing the position. The questions come with the physical limitations there. And then as a Giants fan, I do not. I'll stand by this forever. Cam Ward could go on to be a Hall of Famer. You cannot trade up and give up legit assets that could set this team back in their rebuild to go get a guy in Cam Ward that if he was coming out of the draft a year ago would have been a third rounder. That would be a massive mistake.
I totally agree. I'm dubious that Mara is going to allow them to do that. I think I think he's pretty astute, and I think he knows that Shane and Dayball, they have another year to prove themselves. But are you really going to allow them to mortgage the future? That it seems like you have to give up so much to move up to number one. So much.
Even in a down class, you have to give up a lot to get number one. So I think if Mara tells them, just show effort, show that it's improving, show me it's working this year and your job is safe. You don't necessarily have to win a certain number of games. Then I love that, because then they don't mortgage the future of this franchise for a guy who I don't see being a franchise quarterback. Instead, you can get a guy who changes your entire team in Travis Hunter, and then take a shot or two later in the draft when it comes to quarterback. I was really happy Tony was with me that the project idea of Jalen Milroe is fascinating. Only because there's a lot of issues with the accuracy. I totally get it. But think about it from this perspective. If you can scheme him up similarly to how Philly schemes up Jalen Hurts, who is not that accurate either, but the difference is Milroe is faster, has more arm strength, I think can handle the running that Hurts does similarly in Philly. The idea of building the offense based around him and that running ability, I think you automatically raise the floor of your season with a guy like Milroe.
I love Jalen Milroe as a college quarterback. Here would be my question. Jalen Milroe, if we were having a conversation and Anthony Richardson was in this draft, how would we discern the two of them?
We would take Richardson over him very clearly.
And Richardson, I don't think is going to end up being an NFL quarterback.
And I guess I'll kill my own argument, and his head coach is the guy who developed the system that Jalen Hurts thrived in.
You know, I mean that. I don't think Richardson's never going to complete passes. He can't complete passes. With all it's just not. It's not going to happen.
Do you know what he is? He is the type of player that the upside is so sexy, but the reality is he has not played enough real football. Like going back to Florida, he was behind what was that white donk's name? That went to Tampa. Can't remember his name. Anyway, he was behind him his whole career. Got to play 1 year at Florida, even then was injured, then injured in the NFL. He just he's never had the real-time reps to develop. He's a guy who would benefit if there was somehow a minor league for the NFL. Drop him down, let him play seasons there, get some run, get used to things, then call him back up.
Legit question. Can he catch the ball? Can he be a tight end?
Oh, he could probably be a very good receiver. There's a gadget. There's a way to use him as a gadget player for sure. But if he doesn't work out, a different regime will be figuring that out in Indianapolis.
I think the one thing about Richardson, it's not even the completion percentage. It's also when the team basically went to the head coach and was like, you got to make a change.
Well, dude, he tapped out of a game. Have you ever seen an NFL quarterback in a close game go, I need a blow, take me out?
Yeah, it was super weird.
You find a way. You just find a way. I mean, maybe he learns from it, but I think your comparison to Milroe is pretty good and kind of kills me there. So, all right, so we'll go draft Quinn Ewers.
But also, the Shedeur Sanders thing, it just got me thinking, if it wasn't Deion's son, I wonder how he'd be viewed. Better or worse?
Yeah, I don't know. It might get held against him.
It definitely has something to do with it in some way.
Yeah, but
I don't know if it's good or bad. Is my point.
No, I agree. I can go either way on that one. But I do think he feels like the type of prospect because there are elements of his game that I think are advanced. And I think a lot of it is knowing how to play quarterback.
Yeah, he's a super cerebral dude. Like he can play the position.
It does feel like if he goes to the right situation, what I mean by that is if he does indeed fall in the draft, and maybe Deion's playing this behind the scenes conspiracy theory style, where he wants him to go to a good team. He doesn't want his son to get drafted early and go to a bad team. Money's not an issue. You know what I mean? Doesn't, to a degree. I shouldn't speak out of turn. I know how families do their money, but the point is, if he goes to the back half of the first round, he then goes to a team that at least has infrastructure, that has won games recently, and maybe that's a better fit for him with his skill set.
Yeah, I think it's fair. 888-623-3646, VSiN Live. Tony Paulina on the draft did a very good job. Let's say hi in Virginia to Jackson. Hi, Jackson.
Hey, what's up, man? Always a pleasure. Real quick, first thing, this is a very, very weak quarterback class. I think one of y'all touched on it earlier just a little bit, but it's a very weak class. I mean, honestly, if I'm a betting man, I would bet that a non-quarterback will go first overall. And I love Cam Ward. I'm a big fan. I really am. Dude can play. But like you said, like last year, he would be number 4 on the QB list, maybe
4 or 5.
Let's play this out, Jackson. Let's play it out. So obviously, Caleb goes before him. Obviously, Jaden goes before him. Drake May goes before him, and then you're into Penix. I like Penix. I don't know. The Cam Ward and Penix conversation is where it starts to get interesting. Would you agree?
I would take Penix over him. I would.
I would too. I would.
And it's not a knock to Cam Ward, but I always thought Penix was a dog. Literally,
I love Penix. I would have preferred Penix start from the beginning over Cousins. I think Penix is going to be a stud, but then it comes down to Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. I would. Your point is well taken. It's not a great class.
No, it's not at all. Next thing I'll mention, and I thought about this last week, and I'm glad I finally got in touch with one of y'all radio stations on here. Not one of y'all radio stations, one of y'all shows on here. I think Deion is playing the game where he's trying to get his son to a better team. I think you're absolutely right. I'm going to tell you a team that nobody's talking about enough. Why are nobody's talking about Deion Sanders' son going to the Rams? Are you kidding me? Look at how it's setting up. Think about that. To me, I'm thinking about it makes too much sense. They just signed Matthew Stafford for what, an extra year or two? He's got maybe 2.5 years left, maybe. You put Dion with Sean McVay, that's a problem. Think about that, man.
It's an interesting take. I hadn't thought it, but you guys are both right. I guess I didn't think about the ability and the connections Dion has. And the more you work in business, the more you start to realize how much relationships and how manipulatable it is. And somebody like Dion, who's an all-timer and has so many connections, but when Rams are drafting what?
26. See, here's the team that jumped out to me that I think that they're trying to make Shedeur fall to, and that is number 21 overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers. That feels like the vibe to me, is that's where Dion would prefer his son play. Obviously, the Steelers are always in contention. I'm sure he knows Tomlin from playing in the league for as long as he did. I think that's the spot, a team missing a quarterback, where Dion hopes he falls there, because there was a lot of talk a few months ago. This might have even been during the college football season, where Dion didn't want Shedeur to end up in a dysfunctional organization like a Cleveland or a Giants right now, or a team really with no purpose, no plan like Tennessee. I think he wants his son to play for one of like the franchises that matters in the NFL. And I think the Steelers, who need a quarterback at 21, that would be a fit that intrigues me for a guy like Shedeur Sanders and the skill set. While I wouldn't take him 1, 2, 3 overall, he goes to the right situation where he doesn't have to turn the ball over and play within the system, play for Arthur Smith. I'm intrigued by that.
The big guy. You got the big guy intrigued. And when he's intrigued, he's dialed in.
I'll give you another team too. Number 12 overall, the Dallas Cowboys. Is there any chance?
That's what I was thinking.
That they go and they take Dion, they eventually move on from Dak, and Shedeur is the plan for the future?
What a dumb conversation.
Just creating worlds that don't exist.
I just thought about it. It's like, even if I said yes, what would that mean?
Well, no, because here's the thing. At some point, we'll find out if we're right or wrong, and it'll be on Thursday, April 24th.
Facts. It's our buddy Zach in Houston on VSiN Live. Hey, Zach.
Hey, how's it going, man? How's it going?
Good to hear from you, Zach. What's up?
Yes, sir. So let's talk the draft, man. I've been doing my mocks, and so here's my thing. For the love of God, I hope that the Browns do not select a quarterback. That is where quarterbacks go to die. We all know that. I think the previous one, look at what Deshaun Watson went through. I mean, he was a good quarterback with the Texans. I know he wasn't drafted by them, but went to Cleveland, and it was just done for. So do you see – let's talk real quick. Do you see do we see Sanders getting drafted before Cam Ward?
No.
Oh, so you see Cam Ward going before Sanders?
Oh, yeah. Cam
sure.
most likely is going to go 1 overall.
Okay, now let me ask you, I might be wrong. Is it that Dart guy whose stock has been going up for
Jackson Dart. Yep, you nailed it.
Okay. So do we see him going in the top 10?
No. Okay. First round, but not top 10.
First round, not top 10. Okay, and I got a couple guys that I need to ask y'all about. Are y'all familiar with the tight end Ferguson from Oregon?
Yes.
Okay, what round do y'all see him going in? I'm a big Oregon fan, so I need to ask.
I think he's like a middle round guy, maybe 3rd, 4th round.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3.
Okay, and then one more I got for y'all, man, and I love y'all. I love the show, by the way. What do y'all have Tez Johnson going in? I know he weighed in at 150, 155, which I'm so disappointed in because I wanted him to do so good, and I'm very, very disappointed in his weight. But where do y'all see him going? 6th round, 5th round?
No. He'll go before that. Tez Johnson, you mentioned it. He's just small. But you know who just re-signed a 1-year deal that reminds me of Tez Johnson? You know who it is. We had him on the show. Yeah, Tutu Atwell.
So
That's Tez Johnson to me.
But here's the problem with Tez Johnson. So he weighed in at the combine. He was 5'9", 154. That's 11 pounds less than he was at the Senior Bowl, and he ran a 4.5 140. So since 2003, no wide receiver under 170 pounds has ever been slower than that. It was the slowest 40 time for someone under 170 pounds. People thought he was going to run between like a 4.35, 4.37. I think he's a really good receiver. I mean, he put up a lot of really good numbers, 83 catches, 900 yards, 10 touchdowns this year. But to be that small and not be a complete burner, I don't know what happened. Here's the thing, though. That's Bo Nix's adopted brother. So maybe there's a world where he ends up in Denver with Bo Nix.
We had a good comp. 2-2, 5'9", 165.
Ooh, good call.
But Tutu fast.
He flies. Yeah. And like McVay's found ways to use him. Like he's not on the field all the time, but he
No, they love him. They just gave him $10 million for 1 year.
Man, that sounds like a nice deal.
But I mean, just but he was a second rounder. I don't the Ferguson. I don't know. It's not a great wide receiver class. It just isn't. The Arizona kid's going to go 1. He's huge. He's 6'4", 220. Prototype build.
Yeah, I just don't know what he is. Like he had a monster year 2 years ago. He was good last year, but they were not good at covering the number. I know from that, but they weren't a very good team overall. I think he has all the skills. He feels like it, but I don't know if he's a superstar. I don't know if you're getting a superstar receiver if you take McMillan.
So right now in real time, Charles Barkley isn't beefing on Twitter because he's not on Twitter, but Kendrick Perkins is going at Charles Barkley on Twitter because Charles Barkley went in on the ESPN crew, and you'll hear that next. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
All right, guys, 4 minutes here.
Dustin Swedelson. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, and again, excited to announce this is a crazy deal we're hooking you up with. This is Bill A.D. cooking up a special for Champ Week. So from now until Selection Sunday, check this out. VSiN is offering everything we do. So instead of becoming a subscriber, you can go to VSiN.com right now and get everything for free. Betting splits, you get all the picks every day until Selection Sunday. The power ratings, unlimited stories, plus you get the VSiN, full access to the VSiN Watch app. All right, so again, I've been telling you, it's $9.99, it's this, it's that, it's nothing right now. So go to VSiN.com and check it out. It'll help you become a more sophisticated bettor. And if you're just getting started, a lot of good resources for new bettors to learn and become less intimidated by, an industry and a sect of it can be intimidating with the verbiage. So I think if you just go put a little time into it, it'll be easier for you. Now, as we welcome you back, we've got I haven't heard the clip, but apparently Barkley went off. And NBA on TNT is moving to ESPN next year. So Barkley Barkley is going to be working with the crew at ESPN. And by the way, shout to Stephen A. Smith, just signed a 3-year, $100 million deal today.
Legend. Just a legend.
That's funny. Mad Dog Sports Radio alumni, Stephen A. Smith. And now
living in Los Angeles. How you doing, bro?
I'm not sure. I think it's probably not necessarily the same contract, but probably similar to the contract he was making at Sirius XM and Mad Dog Sports Radio. 3 years, $100 million, if it's true.
I believe I saw $20 million a year for Stephen A. And I don't know if you know this, but the entire WNBA salary for every player is $18.2 million.
So anyway, Barkley went off. I haven't heard it. I'm excited to hear it, and then we can tell you what Kendrick Perkins is saying in response. All right, Isaiah, hit it.
I saw a fool idiot on TV talking about the Lakers save the NBA.
Save the NBA?
Yeah. He's an idiot and a fool, but he know who he is. What's his name, Shaq?
Which one are you talking about?
Kendrick Perkins.
Oh.
He said the Lakers, first of all, the Lakers have had a great 2 weeks. He said the Lakers saved the NBA season. That's because them fools on the other network, which we're going to be working for next year, that's all they talk about. Let me tell y'all something.
Tell me something.
And first of all, I want all the smoke. I don't whistle when I walk by the graveyard or anything like that.
I don't whistle when I walk by the graveyard.
Right.
I like that.
Hey, man,
I'm stealing that one.
The Lakers are doing great. Got a long way to go. But the reason the season's been going great for the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Y'all just want to talk about the Warriors and the Lakers. They're both doing great. Don't get me wrong. If I turn out to be wrong, I got no problem with that. But y'all are idiots because y'all talk about the Lakers and the Warriors all the time. Y'all don't. The Cleveland Cavaliers have won 12 straight games. The Oklahoma City got the MVP, and they are on fire. Y'all are talking about who's in second place. That's the reason I get pissed. Hey, the Lakers are doing great. I don't mind being wrong. The Warriors are doing great. But that's because you fools on other networks, which we're going to become fools next year. We'll be working on that network. But Oklahoma City and the Cavs been balling for 6 months. Y'all talking about teams that had two great weeks.
Time out. I get what you're saying. You just went at the whole network.
They talk about the same stuff.
Whole industry.
Whole industry. They talk about the same stuff every single day.
God bless Charles Barkley. God bless Charles Barkley. There's only so many people that have FU equity and can do what he just did. The namesake of this channel is one of them. Dog can do it, but Charles Barkley can do it. And he's hilarious. So Kendrick Perkins, here's his response on Twitter, which somebody's going to have to read to Barkley because, Barkley ain't logging into Twitter. Ain't a buster.
So the tweet is, hey,
hold
NBA.
on.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were coming
hold on. It was just that's so like, if you think about what I just said, think about the people on Twitter, the people we really respect Barkley.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even think about it.
his opinion on everything. Respect.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Hey,
you think he wants to see his mentions? You think he cares what some random person is tweeting at him?
Hey, Kendrick. Hey, NBA on TNT. Might want to tell that senior citizen Charles Barkley that I'll be around. When he see an idiot or a fool in person, make sure he keep that same energy. He can complain with me if he want to, and I'm going to address his ass like the numbers on a house. Straight from the 409. Homeboy. And we bar none and fade all. Hashtag Texas boy.
He's going to fight the senior citizen. I hate to say, I love this. I love them going at each other for this. And I normally would side with Barkley, but I think Kendrick Perkins, who sometimes sounds like James Gandolfini breathing while eating gabagool in The Sopranos, I agree with Perkins on this one. I think the Lakers did save the NBA season, if I'm being honest. There was no juice. There was no buzz. This team's fun. We got a rejuvenated LeBron. We got the revenge tour of Luka. And I love that Perkins is standing on all 10 toes and going right back at Barkley, the Hall of Famer, when Perkins is a guy who just basically came off the bench for most of his career. I love him not backing down from Barkley.
I agree with what you're saying. And I agree that essentially the Lakers, the juice that the Lakers have provided has done wonders for the NBA this year. But so is this little beef with Barkley and Perkins. So it's all good.
Fact,
it's all good.
Right. It is
And
all good for the NBA.
it's all good for the NBA. I assure you. They want this type of smoke. They want this type of drama. It's just fun. Hey, you know what? Give Perkins and give Barkley credit. Because if they have something to say, they'll say it out loud and not behind someone's back. And that's what this industry is built on. He shoots brick. Bunch of busters. Bunch of insecure little boys that you have to pat when you see them. But you can't pat them when you see them because they're too busy sucking you.
Facts. Big facts. Big facts.
Those are facts. And my number, anybody can find it. You can get a hold of Steve Torrey, get my number. Probably won't respond because I really don't I really don't care.
Yeah, no. That's a conversation you're going to have right now. I'm going to answer this, rather answer a telemarketer.
It's all good. It is definitely. But hey, shout to Barkley, shout to Perkins for replying. You like to see it. It's fun.
And then, by the way, we're laying 3 with the Lakers tonight. Or with the Lakers tonight. Right?
I thought you were taking it.
No, I was saying it just feels so obvious laying it with the Lakers. But the fact that so many people want the Knicks and are betting on the Knicks and think they have a chance, I think it's all about the Lakers. I really do love LeBron to have a triple-double tonight. It's 6-1. 4 of his last 5 games against the Knicks, he's had a triple-double. I think he shows out, and I think you're getting a bigger number because now Luka's on the team. I think LeBron still does his thing against the Knicks. Also, Karl Anthony Towns over 14.5 rebounds and assists. Josh Hart over 9.5 rebounds. That's what we're going with tonight.
It is without a doubt the game of the night. Number 1 Lakers fan joins us now. Mike in the OC. It's cracking.
You guys, how's it going? So how long's it been, Patrick, now? What are we going on? Month and a half? 6 weeks?
How long have we been on? That's a good question for the big guy.
We launched January 6th, though we're approaching 2 months.
January 6th? That's kind of an historic date. Oh, okay. January 6th. Yeah, look at that. Wow, 2 months already. Unbelievable. I've only hijacked the show like 4 times.
You've been doing a great job. You've been saying you're respectful. You've been had great calls. Now Dustin may not be as big of a fan, but you know I am.
Oh, you are always. By the way, Dustin has loved my last few, so I don't know what the deal is. I'm sure that'll change eventually. But listen, what are we talking about? Barkley? Whatever. I tell you, Patrick, who cares? It's grown men talking about basketball. Are people really taking this seriously? Charles is going to be Charles. I mean, I'm like Charles. I'm old. I don't care. He's like, we're the same age, actually. Think about it, Patrick. I think he's born 61.
Hold on. Let me think about Olympics. Okay, I thought about it.
That's a nut. Yeah. So whatever's going
going on there.
Imagine if we always just took what Mike said literally. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Who cares about your sports take? What's going on with is
What's
Dog
up?
back? What's going on with the channel? You
No,
tell
he's
me.
not. He's in the island, is he not? He's
no.
He's on. He didn't tell me. I asked him where he's going. He wouldn't say. He's going to some tropical island for the week. He's there with
Are
5
you-
books or something.
Mike, are you in this group chat I heard Bill and Chevy Chase call in about?
Oh my God! Yeah, the crazy group.
guys are mean.
I
You guys are
can't.
mean.
Yeah, I'm in it, Dustin. I was putting it. What are you gonna do?
Wait,
I can't get in-
I don't know about a group
Explain
chat.
it.
What's going on?
Explain
Why
it.
were they being
Okay,
mean?
Mike.
Go. I'll tell you what it is. Okay. So Monica from Allentown, nice lady. She calls Dog. She's a big rooster. She calls him all the time. She started a chat with all these, Bill and me. And Al was in it. Al's in it. Different guys from the show. They all kind of met. You remember when, he does that show every year, Bar A's. They all kind of met there, and then let's do a group chat. I can't get into the group texting too much, Pat. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not a real big texter. I'm like, I like to talk. I'm not going to sit there and type 3 paragraphs or something. My sister does that because she's like a professor. She'll text me this big long. I'm
Why did the big guy say it was mean? What? Why is the big guy's feelings hurt now? What happened?
No, not me.
What?
Not about me. They just talk smack about people filling in for Dog, and
I
they call
don't
in
give that.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you know what? Relax. It's freaking sports talk radio. What are we doing here, Patrick? I know they get all crazy about it.
Hey, Mushugana.
It's Mushugana is what it is. Patrick, I'm all about fun. I'm having a good time. Somebody,
Yes, you are.
Wait, what's his name? Craig in Canada? This guy yelled at me. He called Beetle Decker Day. He's like, Mike this, Mike that. I'm always in the middle of this. What the hell is
You
this?
know what? You're like the straw
What?
that stirs. At least one thing you can say. You're the straw that stirs the drink. People got opinions about you if they like or don't like you.
Yeah.
It's all, Patrick, I owe it all to you. I got to say.
I agree.
You remember that one? Okay, I got to get this out. You remember that one call I made you guys where I said Bob Stew's going to go work for the Angels when Tim Mead left for the Hall of Fame? Bob's going to go there, and Dustin's going to go work for the Shine Show. I had this all thing planned out because Bob, I guess, knows Tim Mead. I go, Bob's coming here. He's going to work in communications for the Angels. There's going to be opening. Dustin's going to go back there. Then Dustin's like, I don't know. Shine likes all my, crazy X-rated film stuff. I remember that call. It was an unbelievable call. It was crazy. And then my wife got on once. We've had the best calls.
We really have, Mike. Love you, buddy. Okay. Why'd you get all sad when you were talking about the group chat? I saw you get sad.
Oh,
Why are
I
you
just
sad?
figured he was because they're talking smack about Danny
How do
filling
you
in
know?
for Dog. Because Bill and Chevy Chase called 2 shows about it today.
Oh, and he said what was being revealed in the group
Yeah,
chat?
that they're not happy about it and told Tori, and I got to hear Tori be like, you guys are never happy with anything. I could put the greatest host of all time in that chair and you guys would complain about it.
He's right.
People like different people.
He's right. I will say when I filled in for Dog, people didn't really have much of an issue with it.
No,
Seriously.
but because you're part of the family.
Yeah, they don't like it when you bring in an outsider.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, and the bottom line is they're all allowed to have their own opinion. It's okay. Everybody could just deal with it. Here's the thing if you're going to be in this industry and be a host, don't be a bitch.
That's hard.
Just log on and thank God you get to do such an easy, ridiculous job. Because it isn't. Don't let anybody tell you differently. This is easy. Jobs. This is not work. This is not like, hey, I'm grinding. Yeah, you put a few hours in, you come up with a couple of takes. Go get over yourselves having these think pieces about putting together a show. Get the hell out of here. Just be grateful. Just be grateful you get to talk about LeBron versus MJ and shut the hell up. We got closing tabs coming back. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
And here's a friendly call from our buddy Jim in St. Louis here on VSiN Live. Hi, Jim.
Hey, big guy and Patrick, do me a big favor tonight. Just go out and enjoy your dinner tonight, okay, please?
You're a good man. How did you remember that?
I listen to you every night, man. You guys are awesome. You make me relax, and then you got the old C guy talking to me. And if you stroked his ego anymore, it'd have been called masturbation. So we'll just leave it at that.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you, since you know the show and you know me and you know Dustin, you know the big guy.
Absolutely.
Do you think he did me dirty by asking me to go to this dinner at it's so late at night when he knows I'm a hermit? Do you think he did me dirty?
Well, this is the point of being good friends. Sometimes they do you dirty, and you just smile and pat them on the back and say, "Hey, make this a little bit in between, a little bit longer next time you do me dirty, dog." Okay? That's what friends do, man. Hey,
you're a good man, Jim. Thank you. Listen, I'm going to the dinner, so obviously I'm a great guy.
No, we're going to have a great time. Look, I'm an optics person. No matter how much therapy I go to, I care what people think. And I don't like the message it would show if I've now been to LA a couple times and I have not met up with you.
Do you think I can? Bro,
no,
love you.
You don't care about anything.
No, but no, I don't mean it. I'm not being cocky. I'm saying it wouldn't make me think that you had any less respect for me.
I know, but sometimes you do the right thing because it's the right thing, and we haven't seen each other.
Let me explain. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm aware. No,
I don't think
people are supposed to spend time and do things. You're 100% right. I can't defend myself. I won't even try.
I just think it's been a minute since we saw each other in person. Like right before the launch of the show, we saw each other like the week or two before. I just think we should see each other in person every now and then. That's all, especially if I'm in the same city.
Yeah. I mean, not at midnight, but yeah.
It's not midnight.
Bro, by the time we're going to get there at 7:45, 7:50, we're going to eat. I'm going to get home at 10. That has never happened in my life.
Stop. You're insane. We're going to have a great time.
I would say goodbye to Dustin, but I'll see him in a little bit. Bring a sleeping bag. Isaiah and Ryan, thank you. Everybody that helped out. Guests on the show, I can't remember your name, but you did a great job. See you tomorrow. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.